What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Path2Pro Combine. We are coming at you with day 4, set number 2. 10 new players hopping onto Summoner's Rift for their chance at making it to stage 2. My name is Gordo. I'm joined by TDS today. TDS, we got ourselves two really exciting teams coming into this second set today.
Yeah, I would argue a lot of not only known talent but unknown quantities in some places where it can really start to shine through in a lot of ways. And like you were mentioning, the prize of going towards that second stage, being able to be seen even closer by some of these coaches and getting a better chance and getting known. I think it's going to be really interesting seeing how they are going to perform. I already got a chance to see a little bit on Thursday, and the level there was enjoyable. I think I got impressed by a couple of players as well over there at the time, and now I'm expecting the same thing today.
Absolutely, I am. And I'm going to be particularly keeping an eye on these junglers and
Yeah.
Crystal taking on Tahe, two of the players that those who are fans of NACL and maybe high level NACL promotion are going to be a little bit less familiar with. But both players who've been doing incredibly well in the combine so far, both 3 and 0. And Crystal with a little bit more footage on him than Tahe. Starting off with Aeon, longtime player on that Kosa Gamer roster, as well as Zero Animosity, former teammate to Retrozing, and I think that's the comp that you're want to be keeping an eye on as another player who has been a long-time participant on some of these lower tier teams that haven't found much competitive success. But Retrozing showing this split that you change the environment, you change who you're playing with, and suddenly you're capable of qualifying for NACL. Aeon Crystal hoping to prove the same here in this combine.
Yeah, and especially when you get the chance to be seen a little bit closer with some of these higher level coaches or higher level teammates as well, it does also give you a little bit extra value going into the future split. Like this can even bring you up quite heavily. I don't think we've seen like one of these combines bring one of the low tier NACL players, or low tier, no, like lower ranked. I feel like it's a better way to describe it. NACL OQ players into higher rank NACL or something like that. But it's been a good opportunity to really see some of the more promising ones in a better way. Because I do remember that Kryra was kind of in that angle last year when he was on the combine, and he was already known. Like he kind of already was in the up and coming anyway, so it's kind of difficult to really measure up on that way. But I think particularly that you were mentioning with Aeon Crystal, it's going to be something that he may be known to a certain degree, but in here is where we really see if he's going to be able to make the next step or not.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, on the other side, Tahe, as it does seem like we're having some issues in the draft. Hopefully, we'll be able to get those moving along here before long. Okay, there we go. They were going on in the background. I think we just crashed. So happy
Yeah.
to be back. Talk about the champions in a second, but I want to finish this point. Tahe, a player that we've barely seen in comp at all, played on one
Yep.
team very briefly. That was not very successful in OQs, but the way that they find themselves here is currently rank 2 on the solo queue ladder right now. So
Which
been
is important as well.
yeah, absolutely. They put out their statement about how these players were chosen, saying they prioritize NACL players, they prioritize players who've shown comp growth, and so you wonder how does this guy with almost no footage of him end up here? The answer is absolute domination in solo queue over the course of recent splits. And now, going to see what he looks like as he tries to build himself up to a greater record against Eon Crystal. Again, both these junglers 3 and 0 so far in their journey through this combine. Big Wombo comp coming through for the red side in this game, number one. Wukong Galio Camille. That is the Denethor team, by the way, so no big surprise to see the Camille coming on across
Yeah, I
there
was expecting that with the
blind.
Camille.
Yeah, definitely. So looking to see what they're going to take for bottom lane here, knowing they're up against the Unara. Curious about what the support selection is going to end up being, and it will be the Rakan taken blind by red side. Blue side now, they know that they've got this Unara. They know they're up against the Rakan. Xinjiao Oriana already giving them some solid abilities to be able to skirmish and find ways into fights. They wouldn't mind a little bit extra. The Nautilus, the Rel, the Leona, all available here. But they might go for some disengage, seeing how heavy dive they are up against, and they grab the Renata.
Yeah, and a little bit of a second chance as well, just in case Junara gets exploded and she kind of dies really quickly. You do have at least a little bit of a chance here with Renata to keep her alive for just a little bit longer. That being said, I feel like they are lacking a little bit of tankiness and engage potential. And it's really going to be dependent on the Xin Zhao and the Oriana if they go for this Gangplank. I'm not against the Gangplank. The only problem is that they would be lacking a tank and an engager. So the K'Sante does feel like it makes a little bit more sense. I think even Sion wouldn't necessarily be awful, although you are going to take a lot of damage coming off of the Camille. And at the end, they hop into the Yorick. So I'm not against the idea of the 1v1 matchup. The problem is that realistically, they don't have engage. So they are banking on Red's side being able to engage on you really heavily, and then you're playing against it as best as possible. But if not, it's going to be difficult to have some sort of an initiation attempt from the side of the blue team.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be like wind becomes lightning into charge from Xin Zhao
Yep,
with that shockwave on top of you. That's not bad, but it's certainly not going to be the most powerful and consistent engage in the world.
exactly.
And so much AoE power coming through on this red side draft. I mean, this is like TFT comp esque as they have so many circles to throw down on top of you, and it's going to make life pretty difficult. And even the Zaya can get involved there by layering down those feathers, and the
Yep.
self peel going to be really, really helpful for trying to get away from that sort of Xin Zhao Oriana engage. All in all, really going to need to see Renata hosing these engage opportunities and punishing mistakes from the red side to see blue side get some more involvement in these team fights.
Yeah, it's really going to be banking on how they can fight against that because straight in a straightforward way, the red side just decides to engage on you and they engage on you and they can destroy you really quickly. So the Renata needs to be extremely on point in most of these team fights. Technically speaking, the Yorick W as well, the what's it called? The little cage that he does have, it still gives you some room to try and outplay just because of the value that it gives in closed spaces. But in general, it just feels like as long as the right side is not completely far behind or they are not in a really weird spot, their engage should be enough to be able to control the area inside of the objective fights and then also just be able to pressure the squishies because Yunara does have some tools to try and move around. She does have one dash. Oriana is not the same case. Renata is not the same case. And if they get exploded, you do lose out on quite a bit of your damage and protection for the Yunara, and then it's kind of on what can the Yunara do in that team fight.
Yeah, really looking to see advantages can be garnered in the early game off of this composition for the blue side to try to
Yep.
overcome what feel like some difficulties of the team fight. Eyes on Crimson on this Yorick, a pick that he has been trying to adapt into his pool a little bit more as of late. It's this counter pick into Denethor's Camille, and really going to want to see that take some early advantages on the counter pick, right? Both through its superior trading power and to try to hold down that Camille from being too useful as a diver on the back line to try to deal with this Yunara, right? Being able
Yeah.
to tank the frontline engage with your Xin Zhao, get some space with the Renata and set up for the Yunara to be successful could be your path to success, but you got to keep your eyes on that Camille, who's going to be like a secondary diver and one that can really lock down the Yunara and stop you from having too many options to be able to stay alive and kite back.
Also, I think that we need to bring up also or we did bring it up, but I think it's really important to even make it even more apparent. It is Denethor's Camille. That makes it even more dangerous for the enemy AD carry because we know that he's capable of not only getting into the backline but destroying the AD carries pretty comfortably, able to split push really effectively, and we've seen him multiple times in the NECL take over the game just by virtue of playing this champion because of how good he is. And I think that that just adds even another layer of difficulty to try and play against it on the blue side. It was technically counterpicked by the Yorick, and I want to see how they try and front onto the Denethor's Camille because it is one of his favorite picks. But at the end of the day, it's going to be interesting seeing how much body will it bring or how much King Crimson, for example, do against it.
Yeah, I mean, Crimson's going to need to be able to do a lot, right? And that's
Yep.
going to be a major mission of this Yorick. It's why you take it on the final pick of the draft you have on blue side here to be able to manage to take down this Camille and stop it from managing to run away with the game the way that we know
Yeah.
that the Camille's certainly can. And then across the rest of the board, right, get stuff rolling with this Xin Zhao. It's not going to be the easiest job in the world. You're against a Wukong. It is a strong dueling jungler in and of its own right. That stone skin going to do a lot to help you brawl up against other melee junglers, other
Yep.
AD junglers in particular. But pairing up with the Orianna, it's a strong mid jungle duo. It's a classic in the early game skirmishing. Being able to find those angles and find success feels like it's really going to be a critical part of this early game for the blue side if they want to be able to get themselves a strong position in this game. The Galio is going to be melee. He might find himself pushed up too far pretty frequently, looking to be able
Yeah.
to find those kinds of opportunities to punish Shochi. Got to be a big plan of the game, or a big part of the game plan for Ian Crystal and Samakin. Chudgy, though, I mean, this Galio's become a big part of his champion pool over the course of this year. It really feels like on
Yeah.
Dorado, he's leaned into these kinds of enabling champions a little bit more, a lot more of the Galio, a lot more of the Annie, really good Oriana performances as well. And, that's how he found his way back into the NACL.
Yeah, it helped a lot with the way of like trying to provide for the rest of your team in a way that he probably previously wasn't as frequently trying to do, to put it like that. And I do think that that added another potential value out of Shochi. I think the fact that he can keep on adding to his champion pool and still be playing to a certainly good degree, it's really important. And I feel like having to play this sort of styles, but also being able to play the carry styles is going to be extremely beneficial with Shochi being able to keep on proving more. One other thing here is that it kind of gives also the opportunity for players like Levitate or Denethor to find even more angles to play even more aggressively. And I think that that's also another important thing. And gives the chance to actually see how aggressive Tahe can be. Because I feel like this is just a setup game for seeing how much can Tahe do. It's going to be depending on if he can reach level 6 quickly as the Wukong, or if he can reach other like points that are strong for him really quickly. But I feel like this is such a good game to really get a good grasp out of what Tahe can do.
Yeah, I mean, this whole series is going to be a big color of my opinions of Tahe as I look to
Yeah.
see what he looks like against a team that all around has been doing very, very well in this combine. Right, everybody here deserves to be here, of course, but this team A very, very stacked up. For what they've got on the blue side here, Crimson 6-0 so far. Eon Crystal, as I already said, 3-0. Samikin 3-0, and Bounty at support also 3-0. Array, the only one who's got any losses in the tank here, sitting at 1-2. Facing off against a Team 3 team where the only person who has lost list so far is Tahe. And then, of course, this is also the Cyto Combine 2025 debut of Levitate coming in at bot lane for Team B.
Word that this is the first time we're going to see Levitate so far, but hey, he's technically lossless at this point
True,
because
true,
he
true.
hasn't lost, so he does go into that category as well. But it's going to be fun seeing also previous Blue Water AD carry against current Blue Water AD carry, bearing something happening in the offseason, right? But it's the old against the new guard in a really weird way for Blue Water, and it's gonna be fun seeing how they go against each other. I think Levitate, the fact that he took a little bit of a step back in the previous split, I kind of feel like it did help him out a little bit, like revitalize himself. Because even though he doesn't necessarily has a long time playing in the NECL. I do think that his second split was impacted, but coming back up, trying to play once again, obviously as we saw on Whole Milk, the fact that he was able to play really well in the ACL as well, trying to bring himself back up to the level that we saw in his first split, and I think that he did a really good job at that. And then Ray, I think proving once again that he should be an NACL AD carry at the very least, and that he still has room for growth. Like I still up on Ray enough that I think that if you can keep on giving him the right tools, he can still keep on developing himself.
Definitely agree with that, but I'm going to emphasize on Levitate a little bit more here, right? Especially as a player that we haven't gotten to see in the combine yet. A
Yep.
player that, if you stop paying attention after he was out of the NACL in spring, you missed a lot and you missed some real great highlights because his run with Milky Sports was very, very good. Just won an ACL championship up against Supernova, the full Supernova team from NACL. In that grand final, he and Cryogen had multiple tremendous laning phases up against Scary Jerry and Breezy. I think came out of
Yeah.
that series looking like the much more dominant duo. And now paired back up with Rovex, right? It's a Blue Outer reunion, like you called out. And will be cool to see these two playing together again. And want to see if Levitate's going to be able to keep up that form that he showed us in the summer because it was
Yeah.
definitely a return to form for Levitate, much much better than he had shown in that spring split of NACL that ended with him no longer being in that league. Very excited to see what he's going to be able to do in this combine, and if he's going to be able to keep that magic happening after ACL, coming into ACL fall, and coming into this combine.
Yeah, the difference that we need to see is what is going to still be fun in some of these matchups, and I think like some were pointing already, having also high win rate shows how good he has been as well. But obviously, speaking about the bot lanes, because Levitate and Array have been really good so far, at the very least from the most recent things that we've seen. Robix as well was in that blue order team that almost surprised a lot of people as well in the process. Bounty is one player that I feel like there's probably a lot more information on him. I'm kind of out of the loop on Bounty, particularly. Like, I don't remember watching Bounty that much. Maybe I'm lost here on what to expect. But it's interesting seeing how much he's been able to, at the very least, prove here in the side of Combine, and how much more he can try and get here. Because it's not like you get multiple chances like this to really just play with multiple high caliber players and then also get this sort of coaching either. And then if he can even get to the next stage, his development is going to be really, really quickly in that sense.
Yeah, it really is. It's gonna be an interesting off season to be sure,
Yeah.
based on everything that's transpired over tier two over the course of this year and what tier threes look like over the course of this year. It's going to be a very different kind of environment coming into this upcoming off season. So eyes going to be on that one. Of course, any kind of tier two and especially tier three off season, going to be waiting for that tier one off season to round out as always. So
Yeah.
going to definitely be some time before that kicks off in earnest, and that's going to be time for this game number, or for every single one of these games from the Cyto Combine to make a big difference. And with that, we are getting underway for game number one. Welcome to Summoner's Rift, as these teams show us what they've got in their first of three for this block of games.
And starting it off, as always, not much action. It just looks like they are going to try and stare at each other as much as possible. But for what they need to be playing off, I think on the side of Team B, there shouldn't be much action even to start off the game. As maybe a little bit here onto, oh, Levitate.
Getting found here at level one in the 1 versus 2. We'll just pop that ghost to get underneath his tower, and we'll be able to back on off no problemo as a result. Nice response from Eon here to get that ward in towards the birds. Will match the vision that has already been secured by Team B.
But that was flash by Bounty. So now the Renata is going to be a little bit more of a sitting duck as far as what can she accomplish in terms of the aggressiveness that you're going to show. Levitate only blowing the ghost. It's going to be on a much lesser cooldown as well. So I'm not really sure if I'm a fan of the play there by Bounty. I respect it. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of it, but I respect it.
Definitely. I forget that Rovex is rocking the CFO banana pudding name in game for this combine. An interesting choice to be certain, but just keep in mind that is Rovex. Players with off-label names gonna include Eon Crystal on the Xinjiao, Tahe on the
Tahi as well.
Wukong, and Rovex on the Rakan.
Yeah, a little bit difficult to really follow up on them, but already seeing a lot of trading. And yeah, the bot lane being really aggressive here. Ray and Bounty not staying behind at all, even without a flash, not as scared at all to try and go for the commitment in that place. And seeing also the minimap, junglers are going to be the only one closer is going to be Aeon Crystal. Actually, the other side of the map, Tahe trying to just clear as much as possible. So not going to have a lot of impact here was Levitate and Robix gets pushed into the turret.
For sure. Levitate and Rovex going to be on the back foot on the Zyrakan duo for a little while. Crimson taking some chunks from these tactical sweeps from Denethor as well.
That's a
Gotta
lot of
be
damage.
cautious about that health total, as both junglers are on opposite sides of the map. Again, I do want to emphasize this mid-jungle duo for Team A. See if they're going to be able to get this Galio punished in these early stages before he can really get that tankiness built on up. But Denethor's pushing up so far. Eon seems to want to take a look towards him. Let's see if they can find something on the top side. Locked inside of the procession is Crimson.
Oh,
Denethor trying to take a creative route out. Hook shots back behind the
just
tower.
enough.
I think he's home free. There's no more tools to be able to collapse onto him. Denethor's out of there.
Yeah, just enough to be able to escape. Really good flash there by Denethor coming back into the lane once again even. But I'm not sure. He doesn't have flash anymore. Crimson could just flash Q if Denethor takes too much damage here.
Yeah, feeling confident to be able to keep that laning phase going. He does have Grasp stacked up for a little bit of additional health. Eon looking for a repeat gank, but Denethor did throw down a ward there as he backed on off, so the opportunity is going to be few and far between. Going to be able to grab this side Scuttler, and if he heads back top, he's just going to be wasting more of his time. He's on vision this whole way through.
Yeah, he's going to decide to opt into it. No flash. Maybe they go for a
Yeah.
dive here, actually, since there's no flash on Denethor.
Yeah, bold call. See if it's going to work out for him. Waiting for the turret aggro to come on through.
Oh, the
Denethor gonna hook
cancel.
shot back away. Gets the stun. Eon Crystal
Oh, he
about
was
to
dead.
drop. First blood to Denethor. Crimson takes the aggro. Tries to flash away.
Ooh.
He'll fall as well. A 2-0 start for Denethor.
Really good cancel there by Denethor. If I'm not wrong, he actually got into the hookshot position, cancels the re-engage there potential by the Xinjiao, so doesn't enable the Xinjiao to do much after he gets the commitment there. And because he takes too much time after that, he does blow the flash from the Xinjiao, gets the kill onto Aeon, and then can quickly move into trying to kill Crimson. Crimson at that point is fully committed. Either he gets the kill or he dies anyway, and that's an awful trade in either way. But at the very least, now he does get the gold off the kill. But this is why we value so much that it's Denethor's Camille, because he knows how to outplay these angles and does a really good job at that most of the time. Now the Camille slightly ahead, I would argue, just because she does have the extra the extra pots and also the level up here over Crimson. But in general, it's not necessarily the most awful spot for the Yori, because he did get an item to try and fight against Shin on the Camille.
Yeah, it is a little bit back, but really going to be so valuable for Denethor to be able to get the access to the additional gold, get access to that Sheen nice and early, and avoid any kind of negative lane scenarios for himself up against this Yorick. If those ganks end up successful, if he starts this off 0-1, that is where the blue side can find their way into this game by shutting down this side lane opportunity and really dominating through their Yorick, but that opportunity dwindling away very, very quickly. And again, I do feel like getting over towards mid and trying to attack Shochi and get Samakin ahead is probably your best game plan at this stage. We'll see where Eon Crystal goes after clearing out this top quadrant.
Yeah, he still is over on the top side, so that means that bot lane going to be a little bit abandoned with that in mind. That means that Dragon probably close to 100% going into the pockets of the side of Team B. But I do like the fact that even though Camille did get the couple of kills, you can see that this CS discrepancy being really impactful here. It's Yorick being quite far ahead over the Camille, and that also means that the level 6 power spike that Camille could have had at the time completely negated, so it's going to be pretty equal between both sides, and as long as Aeon is close by, you could even have almost always a 2v1 situation.
Yeah, definitely could if the game works out as you hope it does. There's going to be early Dragon taken here, going over to Tahe. Good start for him, although a little bit quiet on the ganks front. Will successfully clear his jungle, successfully secure an objective, take that recall, and work on towards that Trinity Force. All in all, nice handshake found onto Levitate. Going to get a little fight started here. Rovex finds the knockup for follow-up disengage. Bounty at half HP, Levitate at close to the same.
Yeah, actually able to manage the lane really nicely between both sides. Bounty able to get his flashback, so at the very least not going to suffer from that super early flash that we saw against Levitate in that position. And both bot lanes really have been in a quiet state. Like, it's not like either jungler has tried and calm down there to help out, to fight against anyone, to really set up any gank. It's been just looking at what can top lane do on the side of Team A, and then on Team B, mainly Tahe farming and securing an objective for the level 6 power spike, which he is at level 6, so now we may see a little bit more aggressiveness coming in from the Wukong. Also, Shochi can begin moving around a little bit more now with his ultimate, and there's more chances to be aggressive if you're on Team B now after this point, as, oh, couldn't cancel it.
Yeah, recall will not be stopped. This is going to be Array left in a 1 versus 2. Array going to be stepped up onto by
Oh,
Levitate and Rovex and will be forced to flash. A little bit of a desync timer on those recalls, very quickly punished. The Void Grubs have now spawned, though. This is a TP from Crimson towards the bottom side, actually. Going to try to keep some attention down here while they send their bot laner upward. But already the Grubbies are being started off. This timer a little bit desynced. Rovex TPs towards mid as well. It will be a 4 versus 3 in the near term for Team B, and they should be able to use this to secure at least 2 Grubs.
yeah, this should be a much better opportunity here to try and fight it out, especially knowing that the Yunara still is not there. Oh, Levitate.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He did an
Crimson.
ulti.
He just finds Levitate, ulti up, flash up, doesn't use either, gets solo killed, and Crimson now going to find himself with some alone time on towards this turret. 2 grubs already secured for Tahe, and he will jump back over the wall. So it will be a successful grub secure for Team B, but they lose so much on the bottom side. Crimson flexing those Yorick muscles.
Yeah, that death and also getting the plates in their favor is so big for the side of Team A. Not only because now the Yorick pretty much, I think he should get the first item completed, so it's not just enough to get
Very
the
close.
first full item. But it's still so much more ahead of the Camille at this point. You get closer to that level 11 power spec as well because the second level on the main end does it's quite good to be able to keep up the split push even harder onto the side lane. And it also makes it so that now Denethor probably has to stay a little bit more with the Yorick in the side lane instead of trying to set up for that wombo. Because one of the things we need to remember is that Team B's composition is set up for a wombo play, right? You have Camille ultimate, Wukong ultimate, Galio ultimate, Rakan ultimate. If one of those parts is missing, you are going to lose out on one of your main factors for a team fight as Levitate taking a little bit of damage.
Yeah, Handshake finding him. Array and Bounty now just kiting back to be able to keep their fight going. Back to the traditional lane of matchups in reverse lanes. Denethor going to get snagged by that procession. Will just tumble his way out using the hook shot. Does have Tahe at his back, so feeling comfortable at the current stage. Noting Eon Crystal's on a reset right now, so a little bit weaker on the map is Team A.
And now setting up for the next potential play because with no objectives, you probably are going to try and set up for this next dragon coming up in 1 minute. Also, item timings are going to be really important. One of the main things from Team B's composition as well is the item timing spike that they have. Pretty much with 1.5 item, they spike really heavily into this game. Levitate is probably the only one that the more items he gets, the way better he's going to be feeling. But the rest of the members, 1.5 items, 2 items, that's going to be a really strong power spike for them to play. And the quicker they get to that point, the stronger they are going to feel. As there may be a little bit of a setup down here in bot side with the Xinjiao as well.
Yeah, they are going to be able
Ooh,
to lock down Denethor. He does commit the ultimate. They're waiting for
Galio.
Galio. Here comes Shochi, but it might be too late. Eon
Oh,
Crystal throws
Denethor.
down the Crescent Guard, gets Denethor low, but Denethor is able to create the space to get on away. Will be a recall forced out of Denethor. He will be able to TP back, though. He has that advantage over Crimson.
Yeah, the only one that doesn't have the teleport here are both mid laners, technically speaking. So now that they have both the potential here to try and fight it out for the dragon spawning in 16 seconds, although actually Aeon is going back here. It doesn't look like they are going to try and put a lot of focus just yet, considering where most players are all around the map, and also the reset timings on some. Oof.
Yeah, big trade there found by Denethor off of his TP back to mid. Gets Samakin low. Samakin TP-less as well. And Tahe pinging towards the dragon. These are actually blue side pings, so Team A concerned that Tahe may be starting it up. Reinforcements on their way, a little bit at a distance for right now, but Tahe
Yeah.
keeping himself safe in the river. Rovex coming in on the flank. Eon Crystal without ultimate, remember, and Shochi approaching as well. They will look for the engage onto him, gets a nice taunt onto Eon Crystal. The rest of the backup does
Okay.
arrive. It will be a full-on 4-on-4. It's going to be a knockup found by Rovex. Triple knockup found by
Ooh.
Tahe. But the disengage is beautiful. Shockwave on the
Well
3
played,
from
bro.
Samikin. And it's turned around with the damage of Array. 3-0 to Team A.
But that is the problem, and it's something we were mentioning. If you are pushed away from your ideal wombo combo situation, that's where you're more than likely going to lose. And that's the thing. Shochi and Camille both were ulti-less because they used the ultimate on the bot lane play. Yes, you did take away the Xinjiaos, but your ultimate is more valuable for a team fight scenario. If you're going to force a team fight, losing out on your wombo ultimate is going to be really big and meaningful. Even though Tahi gets a really nice ultimate on the side, you don't have the follow-up to be able to get most of the value into play as well there. And that's why at the end the team fight just feels a little bit lackluster in comparison. I did like the initial engage though. I think the idea was fine. The problem is the follow-up on it was lacking because you didn't have those extra ultimates.
Yeah, so Tahe finds a good Cyclone, but without the rest of the team, will be a team fight win for the blue
Yep.
side, and they get themselves the dragon to boot. Oh, thinking about this next objective, it is going to be the Rift Herald in about a minute and a half. All the ultimates will be back up in time for that one, although the same can't be said for the flashes expended in that play. So going to have to see if that ends up making a difference here as that gold injected right where you want it to. A kill onto Samikin, a kill onto Array. Feeling very strong as they hit their first item spikes.
Yeah, you really have both of your carries in a really good spot at that point, and they also have saved their flashes. So that means that the next engage potential, they will still have tools to try and escape in case they get caught out in a really bad position. Blades is still going in favor of both sides. I think Crimson here probably is able to get one last blade just before they broke up or they go away here at that point. But the first red blood should be going 100% to the side of Team A, and that's a good amount of gold already still in the pockets of the side of Team A. It's going to be on what they can accomplish after that. Objective wise, they are pretty equal. Rift Herald wasn't necessarily or hasn't been necessarily used in a really effective manner to really try and look for multiple things. And in that potential fight, that may be one of those angles where you can try and look for it. But having also the grubs or some of the grubs in your favor to try and push in certain objectives direction can be really good as well.
Feats of strength achieved by blue side here as they get themselves the 3 kills and the first turret. Still very strong in the side lane is Crimson, and now with gold injected onto the rest of the team, does make some tough decisions forced to be made from the red side to try to get themselves positioning in the game. Rift Herald spawning on up here will be available now if they do want to go for it. Tahe on this bottom side, as is Rovex. They spot Rovex and going to just try to mark him on towards this bottom side, make sure that Crimson gets this one-on-one, and that if they are going to try to gank for him, they have backup.
Yeah, and it looks like in the one-on-one, even though there has been better trading coming in by Denethor and some good amount of damage, doesn't look like it's straight up just an advantage for him just yet at the very least. And maybe it gets even into a place where it's not going to be an advantage anymore. But at this point, the control is kind of even in how they are trying to look for it, and they are trying to dive in here.
They read the play correctly that they're trying to make a play happen onto Crimson, but they still don't quite have the
Oh,
response ready.
Crimson.
He might get executed by Denethor's
Oh,
damage. Hostile takeover onto 3. Bounty arrives to answer the play, but now he's in a 1 versus 2 up against 2 members who are tanky enough to handle this turret for a short period of time. Redemption going to keep them healed up, and the bailout will not buy any time at all. It's a 2-for-1 going the way of the red side.
yeah, at that point they were a little bit too tanky to be able to even survive long enough, and now they are looking for a Ray though.
Array finding damage back on towards Denethor, but the Hextech ultimatum was still up. Maybe didn't realize that those cooldowns were still there, but he's going to turn it back on Tahe anyways. Flashes back away from Shochi and just wonders where all these players keep coming from because he's got nowhere to go. Shutdown for Shochi as 4 members are sent to the bottom side.
That was kind of like in one of those action movies when you bid one of the small guys and then the other ones keep on coming. That's probably what Array was feeling there as, oh, there's a chance here for Crimson to actually try and get a kill.
Yeah, Shochi trying his best to get out of there. Levitate being at his back might give him the chance to get away.
Yeah, not having the Maiden there. Moment. The Maiden really making a difference in that position as, oh, great flash by Samikin there.
Yeah, Denethor TP'd up here to try to save the top turret, but finds himself in a 1 versus 2 that he just cannot sustain. He will fall on down. Samikin getting a second kill. And what a combine Samikin's been having so far. If you haven't seen that highlight clip of his shockwave yesterday, go check that one out. As it is, I think, the #1 clip on this channel right now.
Understandable.
He's been really, really looking good.
Yeah, I would even argue, like, from later half of the year, Samikin has been really, really good. Because we need to remember at the start of the year, we were having doubts, the same way that Levitate was having some doubts in his play, some difficulties to start it off. But then coming into this second split of NACL, going into the later half of it, into the potential qualification into the Ultimate ALTA promotion tournament, and then now, I think Samikin has just been rising up in levels so quickly, and it's really trying to make a case for himself as being more than just a mid-table mid laner as, oh.
That was quickness coming through out of Rovex, although here comes
Samikin is alive.
Shockwave back on. It's going to be tanked up by Shochi. These warbs, they're not really connecting. They're not able to get the circles together.
Oh, the shockwave again.
Back onto Shochi. He's nearly down, survives with sub 100 HP, and Denethor arrives to the scene to execute Samikin. Eon Crystal trying his best to fight back. Bail out on top of him. They won't be able to find the damage to send him into the revive state, but they can't finish off any of these low health bars. Array was ready to feast in that fight, but just cannot find the tools to actually get anyone down.
Ray is playing these fights as best as he can, and he's doing a really good job at doing so much damage, but sadly at the end, because of the lack of flash, because of the lack of ability, not able to close it out as, oh, Crimson.
Ooh, taunted by Shochi means he is probably in this for life, and it won't
Yep,
be very long for that life either. Going to
nice
just try to
evasion.
waste the time of these three while his team gets onto the Dragon. The timing is good for them. They will be able to secure themselves this Drake.
Oh, Denethor wants to bother him in some way. They are going to get the Drake, but maybe Denethor can try and get a counter kill in the process or something like that. They are also going to take quite a bit of time in the process of taking down the Dragon, and that gives space now for the side of Team B to try and take down this turret in the top lane, which would be a nice influx of gold. Not going to be changing the dynamic of the gold lead at this point, but it's going to be a good enough amount of gold that they are able to get, and maybe even a little bit more of a push in the mid lane with the control they have topside.
Yeah. Another good injection of gold into Crimson, though, off of taking that inner turret. Just so much money stacked up in those things will really help him on his way towards his second item. Denethor already well on his way there. These kills have helped him out quite a bit, even in a laning phase where he was set behind early on. He's been able to equalize in the CS department, and those kills have helped out plenty. Laning one-on-one up against Samikin, a much more comfortable position for Denethor, so he's going to be happy to keep things that way for as long as he can, but somebody will have to answer Crimson sooner or later.
Yeah, it feels like if you left Crimson by himself, he's going to take one huge chunk of the lane that he's going to. And we haven't seen a teleport even coming from him just yet. So maybe there's a chance that we finally see one of those team fights with him in both and finding the value that we're looking for. That being said, the draft still looks like what we're talking about with the lack of commitment or the lack of engage from the side of Team A. A lot of that is always Team B just deciding to go in and going in and finding some potential pick. But it's going to be that dynamic that matters a lot as Tahe. Oh,
Ooh, Tahe getting in there with the Cyclone, has Shochi in on top of him, only getting the knock up on Eon
re-engage,
Crystal,
wait.
but so
Oh,
many
great
members
ulti.
here. Hostile takeover connects onto 4. The damage back onto Rovex is huge, but they just don't have the survivability. Crimson is TP'd in, but he finds himself in basically a 1 versus 4. Array's already been forced off the play, farming back up onto the birds to try to get a little bit of health back, get back involved. The play has already ended. It is only Bounty who ends up dropping. Samikin still farming up on the bottom side, so the lasting casualties are not too great, but still a win for Team B as they look for a little bit more. Shochi gets in there.
Oh, Array.
Big taunt takes Array to a sliver, but still no kills.
Yeah, they are not able to close out any kill. It's only Bounty, like you were mentioning there. They did commit most of their ultimates for that fight. Not even Levitate has his ultimate there now in that position. So if there was ever a chance to try and go for an objective, there would be a little bit of a disadvantage coming in for the side of Team B. As for Denethor, though, he was responding a push, now finally able to get the minion wave into this spot, but it's not like he's going to be able to accomplish much. So it's really not that meaningful to have this sort of push here coming in by Denethor, even though it is pushing the wave and trying to get into a turret, not going to make the biggest difference. Dragon also spawning into 20, so probably not going to end up seeing one of those fights for that. And the Arakan trying to be controlled a little bit by the side of Team B.
Yeah, they got Crimson on this side of the map, so certainly keeping that Otacon in the back of their minds. So it could be place where games can be won or where games can be thrown, and at 8-8 could definitely be both of those for this game. 4 members on the bottom side for Team A trying to keep this push going. Notably, Samikin catching waves in top. He's the only one up there right now. Does have the teleport, but will take a little bit for him to be able to rejoin as brawling over the entrance to the river taking place. Currently, river going to belong to Team B and should stay that way until Samikin can come over and rejoin. Eon Crystal looking around for a potential engage, knowing that Samikin will be here soon. They're going to step up. Tahe looking for the knockups. Will be able to find some. Cut off through. Massive knockup from the side of Shochi. Shockwave comes back onto 3, but the damage is already done. Team B cutting through the ranks of A as they isolate onto the backside. Denethor trying to get onto Eon Crystal. He'll be able to trade back with the spear. Now getting onto Shochi. The damage dealers are all on the other side, and this fight might actually turn back for Samikin and Eon Crystal, as it just takes too damn long for Levitate to show up. Finally, he comes through, but he'll be taken down by Eon Crystal. 9 bodies on the ground when all's said and done, and it's only Eon Crystal left alive.
That really could have gone either way. Both teams trying to play to the best of their abilities with what they have in their comp. I think Bounty's ultimate was really good when they committed so much onto Array. The Shockwave plus the Revive really on point to try and keep Array as healthy as possible. And realistically, this is what should happen to Array most of the fights. He gets committed on by the Camille, follow up by the Galio, follow up by the Rakan, follow up by the Wukong. That's the plan, and if you pull it off, that happens. Array dies immediately. But the re-engage and the re-fight coming in by the side of Team A was so good to see. And particularly Aeon and Sammy King playing off of each other in such an effective manner. The shielding coming in up, and then Eon being able to weave in and around some of the auto attacks, some of the abilities, so that he doesn't die immediately, but he's able to keep them just with enough health bar to try and fight back. And we still have more room to fight here. Dragon is up.
Big opportunity, I think, for Team A is there's still cooldowns down for Team
Yep.
B. Shochi doesn't have the Grand Entrance. Levitate doesn't have the Feather Storm. Everything up for Team A as they look to start off on this Dragon. This is going to be soul point for them, and I don't know that there is much that the red side can do about it.
Nether
Really
has a
good
great
decision
angle.
to just step up, snap up the Dragon, get onto it, smite it down, and put yourself into a favorable position coming into the next 5 minutes.
Also, another thing we don't touch much on, even though it's kind of really crucial, is the lack of Maiden in some of these fights.
Otacon start.
Oh yeah, they are starting it. Galio
Yeah,
TP'd bot because he didn't have ulti at the time.
Yeah, well, they TP in Shochi. He has the ultimate now, so they might be looking for the plays now that the cooldowns are back on up. Otacon down to half HP. Crimson
They're
coming
taking
in
too
on the
much
bottom.
damage.
He can send in the Maiden to scout out a little bit. We'll have her to help out on the damage. Eon Crystal forces his way into the pit. He is now staring down Denethor, and it's actually
Wukong. Oh,
Tahe
great
so
pull
far
back there.
away. Handshake takes him away. Smite comes through for Eon
Again,
Crystal.
though.
Heroic entrance from the Galio finds the
Oh, he's
knockups,
free.
but it's the hostile takeover, holding down each and every member of the red side. Low health bars are sustained back up by a massive bailout from Bounty, helping out with the redemption. 4 members fall for the red side and Team A in full control.
And if the last fight from both teams was great, this fight is greater by Team A. So well done. And I think crucially, the Arakan was hitting so many members from Team B at the start of it. The fact that you take away so many resistances because of the Arakan attacking you so early on means that it's easier for the poke and the damage from Team A to stick around much more. And when they finally commit for the fight, they are committing at a point where Team A can reposition and then re-attack them. Once again, we see the commitment onto Array, which is not a bad idea. That's the way to execute on your comp. But because Denethor was low, or to a certain degree low, Tai was extremely low. Shochi just got back his ultimate and he wasn't necessarily the most healthy. Same for Robix. That meant that the commitment was much heavier, and that also means that the counter damage is going to be much heavier on the side of Team A. So the fact that they could continue fighting there because they were healthier and stronger just made it easier for them. Also, Maiden was up, and that is a huge chunk of damage that that Crimson is getting as well in the process of him getting his minions and the Q stacking.
Well, Team B now reeling after back-to-back fight losses. MVP pick over the course of this game for sure has been Bounty's Renata. Really doing a great job of timing these hostile takeovers to counter out the engages as they come through. And no matter how good the heroic entrance is from Shochi, and they have been good,
Yeah.
it just completely chokes them out as soon as they get in there and makes the opportunities so limited. Levitate lost half his HP to Cats here, by the way, and will now be chunked on out as the Baron push and siege continues. See how big this power play can get for the blue side.
You've never been scratched by a cat? Those things hurt.
They
Like
do.
they hurt quite a bit, so I'm not surprised that minions dressed as cats probably do more damage than that.
Gromp going to be stolen away. This should be an inner turret falling. Defense here feels limited for the red side. They'll be able to easily
They can't
take
even
that
go
one. They
in
might be able to
here.
keep this siege going. There's 3 members not in
Denethor
bot
stop.
lane right now, and they're not particularly close.
Yeah, Denethor is stopped. It's on Levitate, and there's no real wave clear. One of the bad things for Team B's comp is that there's no real wave clear. Engage is awesome, but the wave clear here is going to be really bad. And unless they go hyper commitment into the play here, trying to get on top of Array, which doesn't have flash at this point, it's probably the only way for them to go for it. But Denethor is pushing top lane, and he is going to take down a turret, but he's going to take time as Tahe.
Well, They're going to try to get Crimson, but he does get the
Crimson is
redemption
so
heal.
healthy
Here
though.
comes Rovex on the flank, going to be able to find the knockup with the quickness, but again, this is all onto
Oh,
Crimson. That's going to
Aeon.
leave the carries completely untouched. Shochi
Oh, Shockwave.
shockwave back in and cut down as Levitate now left alone.
Wait.
Over the wall goes Array, trying to pick off his counterpart on the Xayah. Levitate's going to flash Ghost and Featherstorm out to safety. Denethor forced to channel a recall. He did get that inner turret, but the numbers advantage in the team fight benefiting blue side massively as they look to keep this siege going. They could try to end the game right here. Knockup found on a Rovex, taken down
May
below
die.
500.
Oh,
Bounty tries for the flash handshake, not going to be able to find its mark. Dark Procession going to make it difficult to play in between the turrets. Crimson
Oh, the
incredibly
ultimate
low.
goes wide,
Hostile
though.
takeover going to find its way across the team. Denethor dives to the back line, but he will be cut down by the damage
just
of
dying.
Array. Crimson is on a killing spree as he takes down the jungler, and this game might just be over, TDS. Blue side keep their win streaks alive as they win out game number 1.
Yeah, and it really was like that. After a certain point, it just felt like Bullseye just had the better chances at winning the game. I think the main thing for Team B was that wombo combo working out consistently. The problem is that it didn't work out consistently. And not, I wouldn't say it's because they didn't execute on it properly. I think there were a couple of fights maybe that could have been done better, but the crucial fights, they did it perfectly, I would say. Like Denethor jumping onto Array, followed by Shochi and Rovex, and then Tahi as well. The main problem for me was the moments when they were committing at that, right? Because even though it was onto Array, it was at moments when the other members weren't necessarily in a circle where they could be committed onto as well, and it gave them the chance to fight back. Great ultimates by Bounty all around the game. The revives as well were really clutch, and I really like the fact that he was committing onto trying to keep alive members with the obviously redemption, but also the Solari, keeping them alive for as long as possible so that they could fight back. And I would argue like the best game out of everyone, Aeon Crystal having such an amazing game on the Xinjiao as well.
Yeah, I think Eon Crystal making some really good decisions throughout, right? Not over-aggressing, not going for engages, and of course Bounty with the hostile takeovers. I think the two of them understanding their role in this game very, very well, doing a great job to hose this sort of team fight engagey composition, particularly around Sochi's Galio ultimates, which again, were on point. I think they
Yeah.
executed on those teams fights well according to the book, but not able to produce good responses towards Bounty's Renata, not able to keep that one CC'd down to prevent the hostile takeover from coming on through, and that ends up making the difference in these fights.
Yeah, important small things that do matter. I will say though, both teams playing to a really good amount of degree with what they were given, with how their team composition should have worked with. And as long as just a couple of things go different in some of those fights, we could have seen Team B dominating it even much harder. Because they were having really good times at fights. I think Levitate had a couple of fights where he could have shined even more as well. Same for Denethor's Camille. He was able to weave in and out in some occasions, but he was still a Camille. If he gets controlled, he gets killed. And the damage sometimes wasn't enough to be able to burst a champion open. So it's just the slight things here and there that really could have made a difference. But it does set up for a really nice rest of the games.
Yeah, absolutely does. And that in mind, we'll see how they're going to adapt coming into game number 2. This is Fearless throughout this combine, so we will see 10 new champions for the second game. Same players likely to swap sides, so stay tuned. We will be back to check out these 10 for a second time after a quick break. Welcome back, everybody, to tonight's broadcast of the Cyto Combine, day number 4, block 2, as we swap up the sides. Team B moving over to the blue side, Team A moving over to the red. And once again, we can see Denethor getting his champion pool targeted a little bit here, potentially about to lose access to that Gnar.
Understandable that they are targeting then a 30th round. You always see also the Sami King attack here with Zoe and the Mel as well, just trying to take away anything that he can try and play around with. But we need to remember they did change sides now, so we're going to see potentially Crimson counterpick this game if possible, or a Sami King counterpick depending on how many champions they leave open for them. There's still quite a few strong ones that we may see from the meta played.
Yeah, a good game, one out of Crimson there, recovering
Yeah.
off of a little bit of a botched early attempt on Denethor's life and still finding his way to have a good impact on the game there. Denethor now going to be without his favorite Camille, but we know that this guy's got quite the deep champion pool when the situation calls for it. We'll see where that is going to fall. Two of the more hype top laners, I think, to come in through tier 2 over the course of the last couple of years. Very exciting to see them continuing to try to develop and grow and see if they can get that coveted Korea trip coming out of this combine. Certainly did very well for Zamudo last year, as he
Yep.
was the one that ended up going, one of the two, him and Mobility. And you can see the results. He was recruited to tier 1 before the end of the year.
Yeah, he ended up playing tier one, even though with some of the mishaps that happened in the LTA now LCS region. So it's all good things, and he did requalify as well. So also just quickly, congrats to Mudo on that, keeping the Sirius team requalified as well. So even if he doesn't play here, he still has a chance of playing over there. But now it's some of these players that will try and have that chance, and so far. Aurora, Trundle, nothing out of the ordinary here with what they are going to pick. Samikin did get targeted quite heavily though.
Indeed, he did. As find out what his selection is going to end up looking like, losing a lot of those VTuber champions. It could be the Corki, although that's not a huge Samikin champion in my book. But then again, that's what the Combine is for somewhat, getting a little bit of breadth to your champion pool and demonstrating that you do have more picks in the tank. Flipping between a couple of different picks here, we did see Tahe play the Lee Sin previously in this Combine, did find a win on it. But looking at the Vi now, again, trying to show that as well as having a broad champion pool, you do want to show that you can lock in to those stock standard meta picks. Tahe going to do the latter right there as he snaps up the Vi. Even though it's not the flashiest of picks, it is certainly one you want to be able to cover as a professional jungler. Kaisa locked in for the bottom lane. Morgana, that's the one for
Yeah,
Samikin. Right there, TDS. I told you I didn't believe in that Corki. The Morgana's going mid. I will promise you that, good sir.
yeah, that just feels like a Morgana for the mid lane. It technically could be still a flex towards the bot lane, but I doubt with everything that I have that we're going to see a quirky Morgana bot lane. If not this game ever, I would argue.
Well, it
But
could be Corki
probably
mid lane and 80 carry
yeah,
TDD.
technically, it could even be Morgana 80 carry to a certain degree, but like I don't expect Samikin to play the Corki at all, like you were saying before. And I think Array actually had great performances with the Corki in the NECL, so would be surprised to see that the case here. That being said, I wanted to point out a little bit on blue team's composition, pretty similar to last game. A lot of ultimates, or really ultimate bound when you think about it with the Aurora ultimate, the Vi ultimate, and then also pick potential wise, it's really good. You have the buy already with the point and click ultimate, plus the Kai'Sa follow-up. So there is good ways to try and get into the backline and kill some of these targets. It's going to be interesting seeing how the blue side try and replicate that as much as possible. And then the remaining bans, I'm surprised they banned away the Alistar just because I don't think that you want to go Alistar with this sort of composition, but I'm expecting to see a couple of the other engaged supports also targeted here. Maybe a Leona or an Arel could also end up being one of the good choices for that.
Could be, could be. The Yone gonna get banned away here. The Renekton going to be banned off as well. So we do look over to what the selection is going to be on red, support or top lane. The choices here, like he said, maybe wanting to save that counter pick for Crimson, but stuff like the Cassante is still up. You can safely blind top. You can also assume it could be Aurora top. Shochi may play that, but Denethor could play it as well. Does look like the choice might be that support getting bounty on the Nautilus. They will lock it in.
Yeah, not completely out of the ordinary with the Nautilus. It was expected that it was going to be an engaged support. I was just waiting to see which one it kind of goes into be. And they are leaving Crimson for the counter pick in this situation. Not a bad choice at all. As for also the blue side, they still are left without their support, which could potentially be another engaged support simply because it is Kaisa. And then the Mbessa here,
All right.
not a bad choice blind. I think Mbessa blind perfectly fine to try and go for. Gives you the engaged potential as well. The Maokai though, Maokai
The
support
Rovex support
here.
Maokai. Classic.
Yeah, Rel makes more sense. If it ends up going for the Rel, it does make a little bit more sense. And it's also a champion that can kind of evade the Black Shield really well. Because even if you do target one of the champions with the Black Shield, you still can tag more champions as well in the process. But it's still, I would be
Flipping
surprised
through
if
the
it's not.
Rel, yeah,
Yeah.
doesn't surprise me. I expect a Cassante here, quite frankly, going up against the Ambessa. It just feels like it's going to be one of the safer selections. Does maybe leave them a little wanting for straight DPS, but so could see something like this Jackson. They will snap it up. All right, Crimson bringing a duelist to the table, taking the fight to Denethor for the second game in a row here. We'll see that one-on-one matchup. That's going to be one to keep an eye on. Once again, the battle for who has prio in side lane going to be a major factor in this game number 2.
Funnily enough, both games, Crimson has had counter pick onto Denethor. In the last game, Camille was blind picked on the first three picks, and then the counter came in as the Yorick. And then in this round, it's the Jax coming in as last pick as the counter to the Mbessa. I don't think necessarily a bad choice to counter the Mbessa in this situation with the Jax, but it's surprising that it's Denethor opting into both games going for the blind pick and then the counter pick more frequently going for Crimson in this scenarios. Now, the composition, I still think pretty similar to the previous games. Not a lot of necessarily tools to try and commit to certain fights. There is good peak potential, and you do have the Nautilus hook and the ultimate to try and lock down some targets, plus the bind from the Morgana. But nothing like really big engages that can end up coming through compared to like the team fight ultimates that the Rel, the Aurora, and even the Kaisa diving into with them to a certain degree can be. So it's going to be interesting seeing that dynamic played out this game as well.
Yeah, I mean, Denethor, really one of the players that it may surprise you when you think about him as one of the, more dominant top laners in the 1v1. But the way Winthrop has played around him historically is he has not been one to get very many counter picks. He does actually
Yep.
blind quite a big amount of the time. He's kind of more middle of the pack in summer, the 9-game regular season, making all of those stats kind of goofy. But back in spring, which was a more legitimate split, as I would say,
Legitimate.
he was down to he
Yep.
was one of the bottom of the table. He had less counter pick rate than almost any other top laner in the league. It's just something that they don't feel is necessary for him. They trust that as long as you give him his champions, he'll be able to perform even up against counter picks, at least at the NACL level. And I think more or less he's continued to look good individually. I think that that's not a doesn't appear to be a mistake, and it looks like he's going to continue to show that strength coming into the combine.
Yeah, as long as he feels comfortable with that, I think there's no real problem with it. I probably think that with also in Winthrop, it has to do with the fact that they do have mobility, so they probably give mobility a little bit more
Hmm.
power. I would argue, not necessarily that he gets control over the draft or anything like that, but like between the two of them, if Denethor feels more comfortable
They're
blinding,
like
then
support
you're
counterpick
fine
for
giving
sure.
in. Yeah, they probably give him more chance to mobility to get that sort of control, or the bot lane particularly, both only 35 and mobility to get more counter pick potential than Denethor. But that also just goes to show how good Denethor is at just being able to manage out any sort of lane state, right? If you can win out your game by blinding the champion that you have to take, that's still a really good indicator of the top laner. And then if he gets more chances to counterpick in the future, I think that just can level up his value to a team even higher than that. I think that's kind of the only thing that probably would be lacking for Denethor here, because I feel like in the NCL he has already shown he can lane against most of the other top laners. He can win you games compared to other top laners as well. And realistically, he's just, I would argue, stuck in a team that would probably need a little bit of changes before they can really become that much better. But so far, I would argue Denethor has been doing a good job at that.
Yeah, definitely. And Coming into this game number two, going to get Bounty on his Nautilus, a player that,
Yep.
again, fans from the North American scene maybe a little bit less familiar with. He is probably the latest, maybe not even the latest at this point, as there's been a whole nother collegiate off season, but one of the more recent of many Brazil CB LOL additions to the North American collegiate scene, as those two circles continue to overlap more and more in the
Yep.
Venn diagram. Coming over for Grandview this year, former both tier one and tier two player in Brazil. Fun fact for Bounty, back in 2024, CBLOL Academy was a teammate of current world's competitor Boal. Was on the same team with him. They took first at a couple of splits together, and Boal playing an elimination match at Worlds here tonight. So
Yep.
best of luck to him, presumably from former teammate Bounty.
Yep. Hopefully they can pull something up. I'm actually not even. I don't even remember who the matchup was. I just remember that EU is on the other side of it. But hopefully they can do well enough.
Oh
And
yeah. Oh wait, no,
yeah,
no. It's they're playing PSG, aren't they? And
yeah.
then
No,
it's
that's
EU
why.
versus
Like
EU.
that's what I don't. I didn't remember who they were playing against. I just remember the EU against EU matchup. That's why I
Yeah, since
was
it's
like
EU
not
against
sure.
EU, they must be against PSG.
Yeah. So
Spoilers for
hopefully,
anybody who hasn't watched Worlds so far, but
sure.
look, you're on a League of Legends stream, guys. We're gonna be
That's true.
you've had a couple of days to have seen these matchups now.
You can catch up at this point, and hopefully they can do well. But over here at the side of Combine, hopefully Bounty can keep on showing up because I would say I think the previous game by Bounty was really, really nice. Great
It
run
was
out
great.
ultimates, great timings on some of the abilities that he needed to keep Array alive on, and also trying to make it so that the rest of the team wasn't in a tough spot in most situations. Also playing the lane aggressively. Sometimes we see some of the supports having a little bit of a harder time trying to be aggressive or getting exploited if they go over the aggressive in some situations. But Bounty started the game off with a level 1 flash, and he was never punished. He never really suffered. He was really comfortable at trying to go aggressive. I think that he paired up really nicely with Ray at trying to get control of the lane in some situations.
Yeah. I mean, Bounty, a player that we got to see a little bit of an ACL this past split as well.
Yeah,
Shout out to ACL. Sorry, Bully, I didn't get permission to do this plug, but I'm gonna take a couple of liberties here. Applications for the fall ACL still open. This is one of the probably the most competitive event in the off season that you can join, and still plenty of slots available if you have a high elo enough team to come and join
very
up.
nice.
But that aside, we're going to tie that into Bounty, who did play in the most recent ACL quite a bit. Was in the summer split subbing in on Weber State for quite a few of
Okay,
their
that makes
matches as
sense.
the season went on, and found some great success there. I think, again, I don't know what it is about Weber State and players from other schools coming and subbing for them for ACL, but only 35 did the same last year, and it worked out great for him. So plenty good to see Bounty on in there, and best of luck to him as he starts his CLO career
Yeah,
at Grandview.
yeah, and maybe he can keep on level up where Granby is one of those programs that can keep on showing up as much as possible. And also for other players that may be looking for that route, if even if the news recently haven't been the most pleasant to a certain degree, certainly from now on there can be opportunities for them to try and find something else. Like I feel it's going to be balancing out eventually. The system will balance out. I'm pretty sure of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there are still some newer programs spinning up as well. We know, some of these competitors over in D1 looking to potentially upgrade their teams as they reinvest into collegiate esports a little bit more. Grandview, of course, starting to build up their team again as they have some graduates, including uh, Bounty as one of those new players coming on in. Going to be an exciting CLOL season for sure, with plenty of these players both competing. Uh, Samykin still over at Boston. Has not historically been the most competitive roster aside from Samykin, but we'll see if they have some new faces coming on
One
in.
more.
It's an exciting time of the year as we start to see what these rosters are going to look like for the upcoming season, and definitely going to be an exciting one as more and more of these players do start to compete. Maryville, of course, coming in with their latest generation, Crimson joining that squad this year alongside Toasty and Cryo, as more and more of the next generation get their way into CLOL as that next
Yep.
step in their competitive career. That's going to be an exciting roster for 2026.
Yeah, there's good moves here and there that will be impactful. Obviously, I think we have been talking a little bit about players that are not playing here in the
Crimson's
combined
playing.
sadly. But yeah, Crimson is playing, same as Bounty. So there's at the very least, some of them that have been called into a good spot. And also, funnily enough, with the Crimson going into getting into collegiate as well, we are going to see Denethor and Crimson fighting it out much more frequently than what we're
Yeah,
already getting. So it's going to be a fun time seeing them playing it out. Hopefully, Sammy King can also uh, get soon enough a competitive roster for him to be able to fight it out against most teams, and should be an exciting experience as well for anyone that is interested in watching more out of these players.
absolutely. But with that, we are done with the spectate delay. We are on to Summoner's Rift for game number 2. Swapping up the sides, Team B on the blue side. B is for blue in this game. A, we could say, is for like Auburn as we move on
That's a
over to
color.
those sides.
Is that supposed to be like a color that is reddish, but it's not
Yeah, it's
necessarily
like
red?
it's like the color you would call like red hair.
I did not know that, and I thought I would never know anything like that.
Quick English,
Yeah,
quick deep English lesson for the broadcast here as we do see just a basic spread for level 1. Samikin staring eye to eye with his longtime support Rovex. And they will throw down the ward. Bounty going to find that early hook, though. The follow-up damage not quite going to be there. And Samikin does start the pool.
yeah. Starting that pretty much is almost always to be able to at the very least get the early push into the lane. Obviously, having control in the lane against something like the Aurora is going to be difficult since you do not get a lot of opportunities. But then at the very least here, you're going to try and get towards your level too quickly enough, and that can be something to try and play against the Aurora as best as possible with the bind. Also, the Black Shield can work out quite nicely to deny some of the damage, but missing out on some minions to start it off, not the best start though.
I mean, those Morgana lanes, you really want to get to level 5. That's when you get the level 3 Tormented Soil. And you do clear out those casters in just one cast. It's the big threshold you are hoping for. You're a little weak before then, of course. It's fighting, breaking out in the bottom lane once again.
Good
Array going to
start.
get a lot of damage on towards Rovex. Again, it is current 80 carry facing off against current support as the support plays with his old lane duo in Levitate.
Missing the bind, that's not good by the time we came there, and luckily.
Jeez, Bounty
Oh,
continues to land these. That's barrier forced out of Levitate. And again, a rough trade for Rovex. Summoner heal still in the back pocket, but really good aggression coming out from Array and Bounty in the bottom lane.
yeah, continuing from the previous game, they are just being as aggressive as they can, but dominating this lane in the best manner possible, and now forcing Levitate to have to move back even more here, not allowing him to get closer to the lane or to be able to fight for any minions. Similar to what Shoche is doing here against Samikin, but it's such a good display at how an aggressive bot lane, if you're able to manage it out really well, you can just get complete control out of everything and be able to win it out really comfortably.
And a great start there for the Corki lane. Of course, one of the stronger, more aggressive bot laners in the current meta. Been a huge pick at Worlds and around all of the league competitive scene across the year. Denethor finding some nice trades onto Crimson up on that top side. It's another dredge line. Can you believe it, TDS? Bounty just keeps these trades going.
For as long as we've seen, right? 3-4-3. We have if we missed anything that we weren't able to see, we don't count them.
Yeah, definitely. 100% hit rate on camera at the very least. And you know the auto spec does love to follow a Nautilus hook, so it's probably been dragging us down there each and every time anyway.
It also loves
Crimson with a
following top
nice.
laners for some reason, but yeah. Ooh, an early
Yeah,
dive as
okay,
well.
here comes Eon Crystal looking for the early dive. I mean, these health bars are low, the
Oh,
barrier's
perfect
down,
there.
the heal is down. There's going to be
Wait,
Crash down,
levitate.
trying to buy some space up against Bounty. First blood picked up for Array, and now the firing going to return onto Eon Crystal. The turret is too amped up. It lets Rovex get the return kill, and it is a 2-for-1. The dive imperfect from the side of Team
Oh,
A.
wait,
As Denethor
Crimson.
and Crimson taking it incredibly close. The minion
Ooh.
aggro might make the difference. Flashback from Crimson keeps him barely alive. And now, going to see if one of these top laners finds an angle to finish off the other. Denethor still does have that flash. Keep your eyes for when he's got a full energy bar, which he does now. Going aggressive doesn't connect. The reaching Q. But here comes Tahe, Trying to make it an unfair fight. Ian Crystal getting back up here
Has
as
a
well.
flash.
Bounty wants to get involved. There's going to
Oh,
be the
for the
flash
bear.
engage. Crimson falls down. Fetal Warfare to the blue side. Denethor trying to kite it out now. Very, very low. Wants to see if he can
He still has
navigate
flash.
his way out of this or at least waste enough
Ooh.
time for Tahe to get out. And it will be a 1-for-1.
Yeah, and he still had flash. Surprised that they didn't want to commit array.
Oh no, Array comes back to bot lane. He's got 4 plasma stacks on him. Levitate might just execute him here. Oh, they drop off,
Barrier.
and the aggro goes to Rovex.
Oh.
Oh no, Team B mismanaged the situation, and they just give one up for free.
Yeah, a little bit of a botch dive for over, botch dive there as, oh, the re-engage here. Tahe may die.
Breaking out, and Tahe's just too low. Crimson sees a chance and will take him out.
Oh,
And now the
another
hook
hook.
from Bounty, just buying additional time up against Denethor. Beautifully placed
Has
pillar
to
from
flash.
Eon Crystal. Forces Denethor to flash over to claim his kill, and it is a 2-for-1. Everything going up Team A over the last couple of seconds.
Yeah, has been working out much better. They get a couple of kills here. And crucially as well, this death by Denethor is much worse than the Crimson death before, because it is after teleport. So now he's going to take a little bit longer before being able to collapse back into the top lane. He's going to lose out on quite a few minions here, and it gives Crimson a better chance at resetting and then coming back into a lane into a better spot. Like, this is going to be much better for the side of Team A after everything that happened, and also considering how Array started the game. 2-0, 46 to 31 minions. This is just a hard situation for the side of Team B. They really need to make their level 6s count, because it can be game make or break for the game.
Indeed it can. Words swept out here by Bounty, and I mean, what was looking so good for Team B for a while after that botched dive has kind of swung back as some mistakes and some good plays from the Team A side get them back into competition. And yet again, I mean, both top laners find themselves with kills, and it's, you know, Denethor playing really well in the one-on-one situation, but Crimson gets himself back into it off of setting up for some really nice ganks. And now 2-1 on the Jax with a CS lead, gonna build that lead even bigger as this wave crashes on in, and he's off to the races on this scaling Jax.
Work out really nicely as it gets more damage as Samikin
thinks he can force Shochi back here. Between Worlds comes out, but it's going to put him on the wrong side.
The
Not going to have a good
flashing.
way to escape here. Samikin flashing forward.
Ooh.
Great flash from Shochi. Dodges the binding. And Shochi
death,
will
yep.
take down Samikin in a 1v1 that he started. Meanwhile, fight bringing out on the bottom side. It's a 3-on-3, but Eon Crystal already incredibly low. But Subjugate makes Tahe so squishy. And they cut him down with the damage from Array. It is another win for Team A as the Team B side wins the blue lane one-on-one. That will stop the play there.
Yeah, they end up being able to at the very least have it so that they are not going to lose out much more. And Array getting another kill really nicely for them. Really important to keep that up as much as possible. As also, the setup for the fight in the bot lane allows them to have control over the dragon. They are not going to start it, but they get really good control over the dragon, and the objectives looking potentially to be really nice for the side of Team A. They're even changing sides. They want to go for the grubs.
Yeah, and probably a wise call. Array, perhaps the strongest damage dealer on the map right now. 3-0 start on this Corki, not with any items completed, but still that Sheen Phage combo will certainly be felt. Oh, Tahe, ooh, barely able to dodge away from that dredge line. Quick hands on the Vault Breaker to dip out of the way.
Yeah, able to bait it, able to at the very least not die in that position, and now trying to get control over the topside grubs here. Shochi, already with a solo kill in his favor, going to be able to have much more control over here, and they are looking to start a fight. One grub down.
One grub already going over to Team A. One more certainly going to go to Team B. It's going to be a fight over the third to see who wins out the bulk of the objective. Bounty scanning out on these wards, but Shochi so strong in these river fights. Doesn't have
the who connected?
Still happy to take the fight. They are going to get on in there. Eon Crystal taken low, going to be nearly be falling on down. They will be able to trade 1-for-1 so far. Already Tahe falling in trade for Bounty. Eon going to be the next one down. It's a double kill to Denethor. And they will back on off from their grubs and fight, won by Team B.
How the hell
Ray
did that
wants to
hook
trade
connect?
on back, though. Can't quite get the targets down.
Yeah, close but not cigar there in that position. But once again, I don't know how that hook connected by Bounty in between the grub and the buy, hits the buy and starts the fight. Not in the best manner possible. They also were in numbers disadvantage at that point because Denethor was close by, where Crimson wasn't even close at all. And at the end, it is a win by the side of Team B plus the two grubs that they are able to get. Not the worst situation though, because Ray is still alive. Semikin did not die at all, and then you also got quite a bit of gold for Crimson that is stuck into the bot lane, got the plates and the minions.
Definitely. So Crimson getting himself fed in the side lane once again, was feasting on those turret plates on the Yorick in game number 1, going to continue on that trajectory in game number 2. It really is just like game number 1 for these top laners, both playing
Yeah.
carries, close back and forth in the laning phase, Denethor picking up kills, Crimson picking up plates. Let's see if it continues to benefit Crimson at the end of the day the way that it did in game number 1. That next plate barely down, and ooh, Samikin gets another Dark Binding, and he's just dropping blue emotes on to Shochi.
Yeah, going to have at the very least here the emotes on one side, Shochi special in that situation, and still getting forced in here a little bit. And the push is going to become much better from now on for Samikin as well, because the more points you have onto that pool, the easier it is just going to be able to push around and then move around with your Trundle. And Trundle Morgana, something we didn't touch much on. Trundle Morgana as a duo is really difficult to deal with because if you hit bind, then you follow up with the slow by the Trundle, pillar by the Trundle, and then Black Shield to deny any sort of CC down. Trundle can just run you down after that point.
Definitely can. And that is what Eon Crystal is going to be looking for, continuing to build on a strong game number 1 performance and a strong combine performance for him all around. As they
Yep.
do secure themselves the first Drake. It'll be that infernal 7-7 on the scoreboard. And looking towards the next objective, which will be that Rift Herald. They got a long time before then, so going to be quite a bit of laning. Eyes on the junglers to see if they can create some unfair situations for their side during this lull period.
It is going to be a Dragon Soul that is going to be really late at this game, so probably we're not going to see as much importance out of the dragons as in the previous game, just because of how late they did come through. But it's still something that can start setting up as Shochi.
Nice
He's
binding
just
there
dead.
for Samikin, and this chain CC
He's just
on
dead.
towards Gochi will give the kill over to Bounty. Top laners one-on-oneing now. Grandmaster's Might thrown on down by Crimson. Great
Ooh.
dodge on the public execution. Turns the fight back into Crimson's favor.
Yeah, he's
He's going to
just
be able
dead.
to finish it off. Meanwhile, in this mid lane, it is another 1-for-1 as they trade out Bounty for their jungler. Tahe already going to be on down here. Another Dark Binding from Samikin lands on a Rovex. Over the
Oh,
wall comes Eon. He wants to finish off this kill. Gets a little turned around, though, and Levitate will be able to push him back. So at the end of the day, Levitate and Rovex will stay alive. But what an advantage for the red team across the rest of the map. Crimson winning his one-on-one. Array getting alone time with the turret. The gold lead ballooning to 3K.
wait, actually, I know I probably should know this, but did the shield break from Rel break the CC stop from Black Shield as well?
I
Like, does
believe it
that break
does.
that too?
I
So you
think it
can get
does.
CC'd anyway.
Correct.
Okay, that's actually I'm not broken, but that's actually kind of interesting because Black Shield should
Good
protect you
interaction.
from that. But yeah, it does mean that there's
Whoa.
angles where you can actually deny that levitate.
Bounty just keeps finding these this game. Levitate loses ulti, or
Yeah.
rather flash and barrier. Did not ulti there, but will get himself out. But will be without those tools once again, and Bounty is just expending nothing to make these plays happen.
Yeah, not having to use a lot in comparison to what he's getting, it's really ideal for Bounty. And he didn't even have ulti there. If he had ulti, more than likely we see a dead levitate.
Certainly. But not playing out that way this time around. Levitate will be happy to stay alive, but certainly has to keep his wits about him now as he is without many of these cooldowns. Good dodge from Bounty. He's going to flash on out of here. Gets checked on his aggression by Rovex, as well as Tahe and Shochi coming in on the collapse from the top side. Maybe in a little too deep, a little too long.
Gordo, I'm sure you didn't see it, so I'm not going to mention it. But that was a really close affair there for Bounty, able to flash away really comfortably, not
Yep.
being forced into a bad spot, missing the hook after, sadly, but still able to provide enough value for the team that he's still finding really good picks in general. I was also going to mention the huge difference and deficit that right now Levitate is suffering, because it's not only the fact that he dies. Oh, wait, Denethor.
Dive on to Denethor. They do come in with the full collapse. Crimson going to be able to find that execution. Jumps on out. Shochi
Shochi.
TPing into the
Oh,
fray.
great. Oh,
Doesn't throw down between worlds yet. Eon Crystal maybe going to be the one who's left out to dry. He will be cut on down. They do draw the teleport. They do kill Denethor, and they do get more gold onto Crimson's Jax.
yeah, they are finding so much value here down there on the bot side. Levitate should not force a fight here. The Ray is really, really strong. But the fact that they are giving so much gold to Crimson is really ideal. And it also means that you're opening up space all around the map, right? Because teleport from Shochi, forcing them to move towards bot side, opens up space for Samikin to keep on pushing top lane. And that just means that you're going to keep on having more control into this game as Bounty gets spotted, but he's not going to be found out. Actually, this may just turn into a play for Ray that is really far ahead at this point. I was going to try and make the point, but there was a fight happening. But not only is he 3-0-1, he's 30 CS ahead of Levitate. And he has so much gold in his pocket right now.
Absolutely. Big lead given on over to Array. And you got to remember, you got to factor in the fact that he got that whole turret basically solo as well. You got plates onto him. Got a lot of alone time in bottom lane to farm on up during all those shenanigans in and around mid. And Array is in an incredibly powerful position here. So both he and Crimson, huge factors in this game, and those are exactly the factors that you want to be strong, right? Samikin's on a supportive mid laner. You don't need Samikin to have all the kill gold in the world. He and Bounty are set up for Crimson and Array to run amok. So team composition, this is right where you'd want that gold to be. Great stuff for Team A.
Yeah, in general, everything's setting up much, much better for them. And now, with objectives already spawning, Dragon in 6 seconds, but like we mentioned, because the Soul is going to arrive late, probably not going to be the biggest factor to move into. The Herald here could really turn into just trying to collapse on as many turrets as possible in the mid lane, and then also maybe open up space for the Jax to even have more space in the side lanes. Based on the previous game, Crimson probably would really want that, to have as much space as possible to try and get a control on the side and just push as much as possible as... Oh, he connected that?
Oh, wow. Just the lollipop coming up huge there. Eon not quite able to time the pillar to knock Rovex out of the crash down, but Rovex going to be forced off the play regardless. Shochi trying to find an angle on the bottom lane here, but I mean, want to call out the macro play here from Team A. They continue to put themselves in positions where they just get more. Yes, it's Dragon for Herald, but it's also plus a turret for Samikin. Now they trade turrets mid lane for bot lane, and they're looking for a fight on the backside. Tahe wants to try to turn this into a fight and make this into a positive play, but the full force of a Team A are up here. They do get a turret bot lane for Shochi. That will make this a little bit more favorable towards the blue side, but fight could break out at any time.
Yeah, they have the 4 members here, and ideally or crucially as well, there's no mana on Array. That means that he had to back here to open up space. Oh, Denethor
tied up underneath the turret is Denethor. Takes a fair bit of damage. Double stun found by Crimson. Looking to take the fight further on towards Shochi. Public execution finds him. Denethor snags his counterpart across the wall, but Array going to be able to trade back and finish off a kill on towards Shochi. They will take out Tahe as well. It's a 2-for-2 so far as Bounty fell on the other side, but health bars favoring Team A. They're going to take this push in a bit.
Yeah, able to at the very least find Crimson and Bounty, but the counter punch is taking down Tahe and Shochi here. They can even push into the mid lane turret, but they are not going to try and take it down. Instead, just trying to set up a little bit more of the map in their favor. But the crucial part in this fight is how the fight started versus how it ended, because the main difference is Array not being there. When Array arrived, it was so easy for them to be able to close down the fight because he's pretty much all the damage from Team A. He's currently on 2 items, soon to complete his Muramana, and then after that point, like, he's going to keep on hitting really, really heavily. But without him, you see what happens. They are able to force into other members much easier, they can kill them down much quicker, and then they can close out or try and escape much sooner as well in a fight.
And they will look to potentially turn this into a fight in and around the Otacon. Note that Array just got upgraded Muramana. He is so strong right now. 2 items on him, 2 items on Samikin, nearly 2 items on Crimson. This is a Team A squad that is prepped to fight.
They are trying to find an angle to make the fight happen, but there's really nothing to fight right now. So probably are going to try and wait it out just a little bit longer. Not sure how much they are going to take, but it's probably not going to be immediately here. Now, Crimson trying to set himself up, moving around the map a little bit, trying to find the right angle to force a fight, to force on the side lane as much as possible. And I like that he's going down here onto the bot side. Obviously, the only one that can follow is Shochi. Although Denethor actually has teleport here, so he could actually go onto Crimson, but it seems like they'd rather have Shochi on the side there.
Yeah, as they are looking for a potential fight in and around this blue buff. This Otacon spawning in about 5 seconds. It will be a top-side Otacon. Crimson pressuring on the side lane. Array in a little bit of a dicey situation. Will be able to Valkyrie his way out. Samakin finds a big binding to take Rovex to half HP. And a recall starting to be channeled. Denethor realizing he has to get down there and answer Crimson, but Team A, they're going to try to bait them into an engagement here, stopping some recalls,
So much
creating
damage.
time for the inner turret to be pressured. Here's Tahe looking for an engage onto Samakin. Bounty running interference, though. Between Worlds comes down, slows down Bounty. Over the wall goes Denethor. Public execution. Takes down the
Samakin's
Nautilus.
alive
Inner
though.
turret did fall meanwhile, but here comes Eon Crystal on the backside. Another Dark Binding from Samakin.
Those
He gets
bindings.
the ultimate onto Rovex. Cuts him down as well. Denethor cut off by Array and finished off.
Oh, Shochi's
Crimson
alive.
just arrived to the scene off the back of the teleport to take Shochi to 1 HP. He's cut off by the rest of the team. Will certainly be finished off before too long. Rift Herald's been pushing mid the whole way through. Otacon is ripe for the taking. Team A get everything.
Yeah, in the process of everything happening, they even get the Rift Herald into the mid lane. Doesn't take down the turret, but it does deal quite a little good amount of damages. They are TPing here onto Samakin. They probably want to try and kill this Morgana, but it's going to be a really difficult kill to try and obtain here because Samakin still has Black Shield. Well, actually, it does break, so maybe it's not that meaningful.
Ooh, Samakin taken so low and actually finished off. Levitate gets him, and now Bounty deep in the creek, no paddle. Will be finished off by Denethor. 2 for 0 over to Team B as they get themselves potentially their second dragon here. I don't think there's a chance for Eon Crystal to steal.
It's already that meaningful for them to even go for that. So they got the Atacam, they got a couple of kills really importantly inside of the enemy jungle, and even though they lose the bounty on the Cloud Dragon, which is going to be quite important for the side of Team B, the value that they got is just much higher. You have Crimson and 2 items already, 2 items on Eon as well, 2 items and a half on Morgana. You have the Corki about to hit his 3rd item. Is really strong as well, by the way. 7-0 and 2 array. So far, so good. And also, interesting that Bounty went for the Solari instead of going for the typical redemption that every support is pretty much going now. Another way of trying to keep them alive. Not the heal, but the shield is still really meaningful as well.
Perhaps just prepping for the future. Redemption already nerfed, perhaps going to be nerfed again. Just want to get yourself ready for when that's not going to be the be-all, end-all of support performance like it has been throughout a lot of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, this 7-0 array, somebody you still got to keep your eyes on. So strong in these engagements, and now they're rocking the Otacon as well. As cut off on to Rovex will crash down away, but Crimson's going to show up right on top of him. Lands the counter strike. The follow-up damage not quite there. Big damage out of Array on the big one, but Shochi maybe looking for a between worlds angle. Crimson going to be a little bit isolated, takes a bit of damage. Tahe going for the
engage wait,
assist, but Crimson able to absorb it without too much trouble. Levitate jumps to the opposite side, but that is not who you want to be in front of as Levitate. Tahe trying to fight his way back, but will be finished off. And now jumping forward is Crimson to take out Rovex. Array one-on-one with Shochi. He wins that all day long. It is a 5 for 0 ace to Team A as they march on the base.
And I think we've glazed Bounty a lot this game, but that was such a beautiful engage. As they were getting committed onto going towards Crimson, he hooks in, hits one of the members, then ultis towards Rovex so that he can get the max amount of value out of the knockups plus the ultimate onto Rovex. Like the way that he executed on that was so well done. And then in the process, you see Array killing Denethor 1v1. You have Samakin also hitting really good binds on the side, and then both Jax and the Trundle are so strong in at just hitting people up with their item advantage that they have to run away, but they can't. They are just simply way too weak at this point compared.
Really good stuff. And that may be the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Yeah.
It was a pretty strained camel already. And this is a truly tremendous lead going over to Team A, getting even more into Array, shutting down what was looking like one of their best performers so far in Levitate on his signature Kaisa, but just left with no good options there. Dives his way into the back line, finds his way face to face with Crimson after all the Vi CC has already been used, and he just drops.
Yep. Oh
Oh,
wait,
this
they're
is a
TPing
TP from
topside.
Shochi. Going to be a full send attempt from Team B. Array going to get
Ray
isolated. Here comes Shochi looking for the full
they just
combo.
get
They get him.
bursted.
Shut down over to Denethor. And Eon Crystal soon to follow. Crimson TPs in response, but it's him, Bounty, and Samikin versus the world. Bounty already down to half HP. Low health bars created by Samikin, but Crimson realizes he doesn't want anything to do with this fight. He's going to push up mid. Objective bounties coming up for Team B. And right as I say it might be cooked, Team B find their way into the game.
Yeah, the only way for them to win it out, exploding Array before he even gets the chance to do anything. And he didn't even get the chance to use barrier or flash. He just got bursted out of the map at that point. Really good pick they're able to find. Really quick decision making as well. The teleport coming from really far away to try and set up the kill onto Array. But the pick is really massive in that position. Now, it's not going to turn into another objective apart from the turret, which it does close out the gold lead quite a bit when you look at the difference. But this Baron buff is still such a big threat because one of the biggest things that you have as Team A as well against objectives like the Baron buff is the black pool or the pool from the Morgana to try and get consistent damage onto it. Also, the Trundle is one of the better dealers with the Baron buff, so it's just really effective for them to be able to take it down really quickly.
And
still, Shochi is also far away.
He is. He's also without Between Worlds for a few more
Yep.
seconds. Great call from Shochi to be able to find that TP flank, but like you said, the timing means that this Baron can still be started up.
They're looking for the teleport.
Test that. That's TP being channeled by Denethor to get back on over, and they're going to say, all right, we blew Denethor TP. Peel off the Baron, back to clearing waves.
Yeah, they can play it up with Samikin now pushing on the side lane because he's the only one with teleport. Crimson doesn't have a teleport either, but Shochi and Denethor not having the teleport does mean that you have a little bit more of a threat in the side lane as much as possible, as trying to maybe lock down here onto Tahe.
Yeah, Tahe clearing out some wards, trying to keep himself up and alive, although there is still another ward on the Baron there that hasn't gone spotted. So they know that it hasn't been started yet. Either way, Team A going to brute force their way into the river, clear out some vision, push back out Team B. And like you said, they have a great opportunity now to send Samikin to the bot lane as the one TP holder on the map.
Well, until they send him, right? Because they are waiting a little bit too much on it. It is also true that Samikin is kind of the best peeker in the game, kind of to put it like that, because he has the Black Vine, and that's so meaningful to try and start any fight at any point.
Yep. Still looking for some of that harassment, wisely holding on to the Dark Binding until he is out of vision. Still pushed away from the river, our Team A, when they are down these members. Cloud Drake claimed with ease. They can cut through that with 2 members in no time flat. And now Samikin is making his way down towards the bottom as they bounce back and forth between who is going to own control around this Baron.
Yeah, one of the only things that I'm a little bit worried about Samikin not backing yet and trying to go bot side is that he doesn't have a lot of mana. So he may be reliant on just 1 or 2 rotations before he spends a lot of his mana. He is still going to be able to push really effectively here. Also, just quickly, Team B does have a great Baron buff taking team. They do have the Kaisa, they do have the Bai, they do have the Ambessa, and those are really good damage dealing champions against objectives in this situation. And they have a good turnaround. If you get the good flash engage, although Robux doesn't have it here, from the rel, you can really make a teamfight go your way really effectively. Same for Tahe, if he commits with the ultimate and finds a Ray once again, then trying to kill the Corki shouldn't be that difficult for them.
Definitely. Crimson back out onto the bottom side. He has his TP back, and this is the sort of situation that you want to be in as Team A. Really strong in the side lane with this scaled up Jax, 3 items deep, and well set up to be able to just siege onto this Nexus. He's even behind Shochi. Going to lose about half his HP to the Shochi combo.
That's a lot, yeah.
Now going to flash forward, gets on top of him, dumps the ultimate redemption here to try to help Shochi out. Between Worlds comes on through. You can see the one-on-one potential of this Jax, spaces out the weirding, and they are calling over Levitate. Crimson's got to be careful. He's up too deep, gets tagged by the Void Seeker, and Levitate is set up to be able to take him out. Shochi gonna finish him with the weirding, but now both carries are showing bottom side. Team A starts onto the
Did they
Baron
rush it?
with all this DPS they've got from Eon and Array. Recalls being channeled. Nobody gonna be able to TP their way over. Levitate without the killer
Oh,
instinct. The Baron falling to about half HP. Denethor looking on the backside to be able to find an entryway with the public execution. And Team A realizes they're not going to be able to finish it off in time. Tahe getting onto the Baron, going to be able to avoid the Dark Binding, keeping it aggroed so that they can potentially take it with Levitate. TP now being channeled. They've sent over Shochi. He got that summoner spell back up. They're looking to finish off the Baron, and they're going to get it. It goes over the way of Rovex, and Team B break the ankles of Team A, answer the side lane push, and claim themselves the objective in one fell swoop.
Yeah, but I feel like answering more than answering the silent push is more a little bit of the indecision coming in by the side of Team A, because they had the control, yes, but realistically, if one of your members died, you have to be able to decide quickly on the spot what you want to do. And that plays, it didn't really it happened in the position they were looking for. As that was close to connecting. Shochi trying to put so much bothersome there with just jumping around and trying to be
Looking
invisible.
for Samikin.
Oh,
Ooh, does throw out the Between Worlds. It gets blocked away by Black Shield. And now another binding connecting. That is a big flanking tool down for them, and you do still have to respect how powerful Team A is, but this gold lead has been trimmed down to size. Team B getting the momentum back in their favor, and so far no good responses being manifested by Team A. They are going for the split push once again. They are answering the siege just fine up against this Baron buff.
Well, the split push is fine if it's not Crimson going against Samikin. It looks like because against Shochi, sorry, because it looks like Shochi is able to actually kill Crimson really effectively. They did have to bring a Levitate, but the damage they were able to get onto Crimson beforehand by Shochi was really big.
Yeah, without the flash, without any magic resistance, it's very tough for Crimson to actually be able to finish this off. Array isolated off. They do think that they have the pick, and they do. Levitate going to be able to take Array down. It's now Bounty and Samikin throwing down the chains of corruption. Samikin trying to be able to stand and fight, but will have to get on away. 2 for 0 for Team B as they keep this Baron siege going. They need to call back Crimson now, but they may have already lost this bot lane inhibitor.
Should be dead here. Levitate really low in terms of his health bar, and also trying to run in there, but Samikin gets find out.
Crimson getting back in there. Samikin going to be taken down. Between Worlds already back off a cooldown. Crimson going to go into the stasis. Already took out one, but he's going to have to make a miracle happen. Denethor's right on top of him, getting him with the Drakehound step, trying to chase him down. Eon going to be able to finish off Levitate, but it's Crimson dropping. It's Eon dropping. 10 more seconds on Array. Bounty will be back on up, but this base has been cracked open.
Yeah, they cannot win at all here, but it's finally Team B's game. They turned around, they found a couple of things that they were looking for, and Team A a little bit lackluster in how they were trying to look around for some of those plays. Still, they still have a really strong couple of members that can fight back, but one weird thing here is that even though Array was, for a huge portion of the game, quite a bit ahead of the enemy AD carry, right now he's actually behind in items. 5 items or 4.5 items already completed for Levitate, where Array is just now completing his 4th item. He's still a little bit far away from that, and I'm not sure if it's the shutdowns, if it's the turrets, if it's the soul gold that Levitate got, but for some reason he was way farther away from that advantage compared to where Array was initially, and now they are looking for the 3rd dragon of the game.
Yeah, I think it really is those shutdowns. On top of having a slightly cheaper build, it's definitely the amount of gold he was able to accrue from being able to execute a couple of those really big bounties from Team A, and now they get themselves on a soul point. And looking tough for Team A. I mean, these fight angles being found by Team B have been quite good, making great use of Levitate's killer instinct to get these fights started at awkward numbers while Crimson is trying to make the split push work.
Yeah, and Crimson's split push hasn't been the best just yet, because Shochi has been doing a really good job at trying to not only stop him, but also doing so much damage to the Jax. Remember, he doesn't have any sort of magic resistance, so he's just going to take the full brunt of the damage into his face, and not really anything to stop it. He was prepared to go against Denethor, but it's been Shochi the one that has consistently answered him, and put so much damage onto him.
Yeah, well, once again, we have a bit of a lull state here. Plenty of time before the objectives spawn. This is a good state for Team A to reestablish their split push. They are going to keep Crimson on the bottom side, as that is where their inhibitor is down. try to buy themselves a little bit more space to play,
Oh,
and
they
it's a
get.
flash engage onto Shochi.
Oh, they find
Bounty
Shochi.
finds it again, and Shochi is down for a full minute. And that one tiny mistake could have massive ramifications as Team A starts to siege on the mid lane inhibitor.
Yeah, luckily, it's not a Baron buff up here in the game just yet, and it's not also a Dragon Soul or anything like that, but it's still an opportunity to finally take down one inhibitor or help with a push from Crimson. He's been slowly pushing in on the side, but finally here, able to maybe make a thread out of it. The flash does come through. Shochi did not have flash, and it looks like maybe actually it's not going to be that meaningful. 30 seconds still for Shochi, and doesn't look like they are going to overly push here.
Yeah, I mean, feeling like without these cooldowns that they don't actually have a good way to respond if they full send onto them, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Tahe and Denethor have the double ulti combo. They can just push both their buttons on Array, and Array will die. The Black Shield, kind of the best hope they have at being able to stop that, but it's really tough for them once they get onto the back line if you don't actually have ways to finish them off. And so they will give them back that space.
It is going to be now Baron control though for the side of Team A, and it does look like they are going to try and utilize that into their advantage and make a team fight go their way in this position here. They have a lot of damage to be able to try and burst it out, and also the pick potential can be really, really good as they are stepping up or trying to set themselves up. Oh, Tahe.
Flash in.
Really
Tahe
good
getting into
ulti
the back
there.
line. Array going to get the Black Shield on him a little bit late. Will
Syracuse
be able
had
to
to
stay
flash
alive.
out.
Just gets to return
Wait, Levitate?
fire. Into the back line goes Levitate into the stasis, but he's going
Had
to
to
have to
flash
flash
out.
away immediately. Denethor
Array?
dancing
Array?
through the team. Down goes 2, down goes 3, and they manage to kite their way back. Denethor bides his time, finds an angle onto Array, and even through the Black Shield, Denethor gets his man. It's a fight win for Team B against all odds.
It's a fight win, but that does mean that it's not going to be Baron for either side, although Levitate is looking like he wants to try and threaten it, but there's no smite on the side of Team B. There is on Team A, so if they think that there's something fishy going on here, they can try and threaten it out here. I'm pretty sure they see Levitate. Yeah, they know now 100% that it's probably a potential there, but look at the minion wave in the bot side.
Yeah, huge wave crashing on in. Somebody's going to have to go and answer that one. It is
Yeah,
going
it's
to be
pretty
Eon
bad.
Crystal's job. It looks like, no, he's just sprinting away. He's trying to get over to the Baron. They're going to give up a Nexus turret here to this siege, knowing that they need to try to steal the Baron. They will not get a chance to do so. Eon Crystal has to turn back around to go and
big
deal with the
mistake there.
wave that just took down a Nexus turret.
I'm not sure why he decided to back there in that position, and at the end, it is going to be Baron bot forward. Oh,
Bounty
Shochi, not again!
finds Shochi again, and they will be able to blow him up. This minute timer, so critical for Team A to be able to get a little bit of breathing space against another Baron buff being worn by Team B.
At the very least, to be able to threaten some of the inhibitors. Now that the inhibitor is back up on the bot side, you do have more pressure here to try and push with Crimson, and they are trying to push here. They are looking at top side, but the push from the mid lane is going to be a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, Rovex just in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Will not be able to get back in time to be able to stop this inhibitor. They're
They're
going to try to keep
going
this
for it.
siege going up
They're even
against the
TPing
Baron
it.
buff. TP is being channeled by
Oh,
both
they
sides.
win.
Binding found onto Levitate into the stasis, but Crimson going to step
Oh,
out to try to
engage,
find
though.
it. Gets the stun on multiple members. Bounty going to be tanking up the
Bounty's
turrets. He's going to
dead.
be the one who ends up falling down. Crimson is pushed back. Denethor is into the back line. Array's trying to kite it out, but Levitate is all over him. Binding connects from Samakin. Array is on a sliver. They managed to take him out, but Array has got to get the hell out of there. And Crimson will be chased down in turn. Levitate manages to keep Array at bay, manages to trade back onto Samakin, and it saves the fight for the team.
But it's only Array now, and it's by himself with no flash, no barrier just yet, against 4 men strong on the side of Team B, and actually, they are going to decide to not go into the base. They are just going to take the dragon away. I think a smart decision to go for the soul. And for champions like the Kai'Sa, like the Vi, even for the Mbessa, this Cloud Soul is going to be so good to try and get even more space and more movement speed to get on top of Array. But these are the sort of things, these team fights, whenever they commit and they go on top of Array, Array doesn't have enough survivability to be able to take them away. And if the Black Shield is not on point, he just gets collapsed on, connected on, and killed really quickly.
And call Levitate Messiah the way that he has been using the stasis over the course of this game. Diving in with the killer instinct, popping it, blowing cooldowns, forcing members out of position, and Denethor snaps the trap shut. up in front of that Nexus. So many members stepping up so far into 2 Nexus turrets because they think they have Levitate, but the Stasis buys the time and Denethor buys the bodies.
Yeah, and it's really been two fights where Levitate's stasis has won them the fight. Because in the previous one, before they got the kill onto Shochu once again, they were able to stop it just as they were committing on him in the bush, and then able to kill really quickly the remaining members. And it looked like that could have been game at that point, or that turned into a Baron Pop, as oh, Crimson may be dead here.
Crimson in a 1 versus 2. Public execution connects. Look at that damage out of Shochi. And Crimson going to try to jump his way back away. He does have the redemption coming on through, but it's only going to buy him a couple of seconds. That was Subjugate blown from Eon Crystal, but he's got to flash away. Binding connects on a Shochi, but there is no follow-up. Array sees them on the side, but knows that he has to create the space because Levitate is hunting for him the whole time, and he just can't pump out the damage as this lower-ranged Corki auto-attacker. 2 members down, and 5 versus 3 Team B are on the hunt to complete the comeback.
Yeah, they want to try and turn it around as they do get a little bit of damage onto the buy, but it's not enough. They are pushing into the mid lane. Oh, Levitate!
Levitate stepping up with the killer instinct, takes Samakin to below half HP and buys the space for the rest of the squad. Inhibitor 1 going to fall, Inhibitor 2 soon to follow. 20 seconds to go on Crimson. These 3 members have got to prioritize wave clear above all else to make sure they're going to be able to stay alive in this game. Show Shackles is still up for Samakin, and the wave has been cleared. They will buy themselves time for now. 10 seconds on Crimson and Bounty. Just need to create the space and avoid getting picked on off, and it looks like Team A will get back to full strength. The game is not over yet, TDS.
Not yet over, but it really feels like Team B is trying to close it out as soon as possible. They are finding such a good old Levitate.
Huge interrupt there from Eon. They get the smite as well. Trying to set up for Samakin to find a Dark Binding. But Samakin unwilling to flash Binding there. Doesn't think he can one-shot Levitate, and he may very well be right. Now Samakin going to get caught out by Shochi, thinking that he still has flash now. Levitate's up in his face, goes to the stasis once again. Levitate makes one pick. Massive crash down, Magnet Storm combo out of Rovex. Holds down the rest of the squad. Crimson trying to make magic happen in the middle of 5, but there's no chance of it working out now. Denethor into the back line of the public execution, keeping on top of Team A until every single member is dealt with. It's going to be a win for Team B in a 41.5-minute comeback to get onto the Nexus.
That should not have worked out the way it did, but huge props to Team B and how they managed it out. Levitate even went behind his Kai'Sa is deadly, and he showed it here. Such a well-played Kai'Sa game, such a well-played Mbeza game by Denethor as well in a lot of those situations. And you gotta give props with how they fought those late game fights. It really was a difference maker in the full duration of the game.
Yeah, and I think some miscomm there between Eon Crystal and Samakin on the last play. They thought they had a pick on the Levitate, but just can't or won't commit the abilities to try to force it, but still up too far. Picked off and taken out. Well played by Team B there. And huge props to Levitate and Denethor for how they play out the back half of that game. Really, really doing a great job of being able to bait in targets, keep yourself alive on Levitate's behalf, and Denethor finds the punishes time and time again, gets onto that back line, scaled up enough on the Mbessa, relying on the survivability given by the Sterix and by the Death's Dance to be able to just dance his way through these fights, chunk out each and every member in his way, and punish the fact that the only damage dealer is Array, and it's just unsafe for him to step up far enough to deal damage once they get to that stage of the game.
Yeah, it was at a point of the game where you kind of were relying too much on Samakin or on Bounty being able to hit the right hook to be able to blow up a target really quickly. And then the crucial part of having Levitate Sonya's available as well. Because as soon as that came up, team fighting for him became way easier. He was able to go into the back line, delete one target, stays on the right moment, and then follow up on the next one. And it does come through from the fact that the rest of the members were able to create enough chaos that the Kai'Sa was kind of the least or the smaller problem to try and deal with in most situations, because actually Levitate wasn't going on to Array. He was going on near Array, but going for the remaining members, where Array was pretty much dealt with by Denethor in most situations. Denethor or Tae. Most of the times it was them going onto Array, and that meant that when the space was created for Levitate, he just run down everyone else. Crimson, after using the Counter-Strike, he wasn't able to get on top of Array or Shoshi really quickly, and that meant that the fights were easier to fight out because Levitate had more space, less attention on top of him, and Array was dealt with at the time.
Yeah, and just being a little bit too slow to pull off some of those plays in the
Yep.
later game from Team A. Some of that indecision at critical moments causes them to lose the momentum. And once that momentum is lost, yeah, Team B able to just execute on these team fights at a much, much higher level. Very well played by them, delivering the first loss of the Combine to Crimson, Eon Crystal, Samikin, and Bounty. All of these players undefeated coming into this game. So props to them for that win. And now we've got one more decider game, game
Yep.
number 3, find out who is going to walk away the victors of this particular set of matchups. Very exciting stuff. So don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back after one more break. Welcome back, everybody, for game number 3 and the final game of the day for set number 2 of the Saito Combine. So we are approaching the end of week number 1. These players continue to try to show everything they've got. We do have Team A back to the blue side, Team B back to the red for our third and final game. 10 champions fearless band away from the first 2 games in a 1-1 scoreline, TDS. So we're playing for a little bit of bragging rights here.
Yeah, an actual BO3. And ended up going into an actual BO3 instead of just going to be 3 games. And after those 20 champions that are banned away. Now we have to see what the options are going to be remaining for most of the players here. The Soy ban going to stay forever against Anakin, it feels like, unless you're going into like fearless BO5 and they take away the restrictions. But at this point, going to be for Zamakin ban pretty specifically. And then for the remaining champions, the Rumble makes a lot of sense. I think probably Pantheon could be another one to look into as at banning because Jungle Pool now a little bit lesser. Jarvan as well, although Jarvan recently hasn't had the most success, but Jarvan Nico as well, another good choice. There's still a good amount of champions that you can try and look into here. I feel like the 80 carry pool is the one that probably we have to dig a little bit more. There's still Misfortune, Jin available, but you still have to look into some of these other champions there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we get the rest of these bands coming on through. Eyes on what we will find for this Fearless Game 3. Top lane, been a big aspect so far. We'll see if the carry matchups keep coming through.
Choice here, still keeping up the semi-king bands here, but for the first pick, actually Yunaris is still available. It could be a just go for Yunara here and then draft else. Although Pantheon, like we're mentioning, Jungle Pool looking to be a little bit open. That Pantheon looking really juicy in that state. Plus the Jarvan 4 as well still available. Oh,
That's for Eon
okay.
Crystal. Tahe, what are you cooking for us, brother? Do you have something of interest here? Did bust out the Lee Sin, like Guy said in his previous matchup. Would be very cool to see the Fiddlesticks, although this is very early in the draft to be showing such a thing. But maybe he's got a plan for it if it does get locked on in. This has been hovered for a while by Denethor, and instead it will be to Zyra, a different AP jungler. Excited to see Tahe on something more carry-oriented, though. The Wukong and the Vi so far been more team-oriented junglers, which of course do need to be a substantial part of your pool. But this guy's a solo Q star, and I want to see him on these carries. The Zyra going to be his first shot at that of the night. And Rovex looking at an old classic in the Alistair.
Yeah, usually solo queue junglers tend to favor more the damage-oriented junglers like the Sarah, so going to be fun seeing how effective Tahi is going to be on the Sarah, as the Alistar also big, so a lot of engaged potential going to come through. For Robux, particularly having that hand in deciding when to go in and what to do, probably for the better on the red side. As for the remaining picks here, the Pantheon was big. It could technically be a support Pantheon. We have recently seen him played a couple of times in the support position, so could be flexed, but I would be surprised to not see him going into the mid lane, into the jungle, especially with the Talia. I think jungle Talia Pan, it's much better here. And then the
Well,
Renekton as well. A lot of point and click CC to try and set up the control for the Talia. That could be really nice. And the Renekton was also banned in the previous game in the second round, so now taking it here to try and have a lot more control. As well, Syra is supposed to be a support actually, so if the Kiana
ah,
does come through, could be a Kiana jungle angle instead.
I might even think it's a mid lane Kiana
Could
Zyra
also be.
jungle before I would anticipate seeing the Zyra in a lane. Or neither, as it will be the Aatrox snapped on up for team 2. This is going to be Denethor blind. Oh, not blinding top lane. He sees that he's against the Renekton. Will go for a Darken of his own. Looking to be able to duke it out once again with Crimson in a carry v carry matchup. More bruiser v bruiser, but still. And a tough lane facing down Renekton paired up with both Pantheon and Talia.
And now for the second round here, and a lot of AD carry should probably be the focus. The Tristana getting taken away, the Vard as well. Wait, we were actually talking about the Mundo in the pre-draft before we even got in, and potentially getting banned away could be kind of interesting considering that it feels like Pantheon and Renekton should both be going to their lanes. The Leona makes much more sense. And in terms of the engage supports that are remaining, actually there's so Alistair already picked. There's Nautilus already picked as well. Leona banned away, Rel picked in the previous game. What remaining engage support is there in case we're looking for the others?
Well, looking for potential Vayne angle would be a spicy one to come out of Levitate here, although does have interruptibility onto the Pantheon stun. Little rough into the Talia, but I don't know, could be a potential option here with threats coming in from the jungle and top. Instead, it's
Makes
going to
more
be the
sense.
Sivir, something a little bit more par for the course. Oh, the Smolder instead for Levitate, so going to look to try to scale up Smolder Alistair. Smolder comps, a big part of Whole Milk's ACL run, will be locked in for Levitate here.
Yeah, and I'm not against the Smolder Sivir discussion this position, although it does open up a little bit for the Blitzcrank in that sense. But the Smolder scaling is great. The poke that you can get is really good. Also, the amount of damage that you can also get in lane can be really dangerous. So not against the Smolder pick, and the Blitzcrank answer really nice to see coming in off of Bounty here. As for 80 carry, remaining 80 carries, you can go for the Jin here technically if you want to have a lot of follow up. The Jinx for late game scaling could be really good as well. I think Sivir wouldn't even be a bad option either for the spell shield because the Jinx here this game, even though you do get the great late game scaling, the only problem is that there's no real protection for her. So it's whatever she can do by herself to survive long enough that she can ramp up or get killed in the process. As the Akali getting hovered could be the Akali pick here, or the Sion.
Nah. I do think the
No, I
Akali is
think
what you need to
yeah,
see. You need an assassin out of Shochi here. Something has to be able to reach the Jinx. I think
you
it's
can go
quite
LeBlanc.
good, given that it's Smolder, Zyra, Aatrox, Alistair so far. There's no way Shochi's going to lock in this Scion. Oh, the
Oh, a
Sivir is going to
Smolder.
make it Smolder mid lane for
Okay, I like
Shochi.
the change up.
I do still think access for Jinx is going to be a problem for this team 2 comp, though.
Yeah, I feel like if you want to have a little bit more of a easier time trying to get onto the Jinx, something like a LeBlanc, which was still available, could have been a choice. Not necessarily the best champion. I think that there's way too many ways to deny the LeBlanc, particularly this game with the amount of CC that there is. But that's a champion that you can try and look into, try and control, or to get into the back lane or kill someone. Or if you wanted to go for a little bit more of what to put it, a way to deny into some of these champions, even the Syndra to a certain degree could have been that choice because the scatter of the weak has a lot of merit in some of these fights as well. But with the Smolder now, it's carry against carry. It's two carries against one to see which can ramp up better. The only problem is that you do have a Blitzcrank. So your target selection here to pull is going to. Oh, okay. So it's not Severus Victor.
All right, yeah, we are getting word. R5 pick is Victor, not Sivir. So it will be the
That
Smolder
changes
bot for
much.
Levitate. It will be the Victor mid for Shochi. And my concerns about access to the Jinx remain, as this is going to be a really powerful set of targeted stuns combined with Talia to be able to
Yeah.
access these low mobility carries like the Victor. I mean, I think this is going to be a rough game for Shochi on the Victor. He's going to be target numero uno for a Pantheon Talia duo constantly.
Yeah, like the Blitzcrank hook still has three great champions to pick from the Syra,
Yeah.
the Victor, and the Smolder. You have great decisions there to go for either way. And then you also have the Aatrox that you can technically grab with the Blitzcrank hook. If you're really far ahead, you can just burst him out quickly enough that it doesn't really matter. And the problem here is how you're going to deal with having to face a lot of stuns, a lot of CC, but also trying to reach that Jinx that you're pointing out. I think if you went for something like the Smolder or the Sivir, at the very least, the argument could be you have 280 carries to one. So if you reach the late game, your damage should be higher than the other 80 carry. Victor here, the gravity field is going to be great to deny some of the entrances onto objectives so that at the very least it's going to be hard to reach that backline. But you still face the problem that if you reach the backline, they're probably dead.
Yeah, and that is always going to be your big concern playing these kinds of comps with the
Yeah.
full reliance on your back line to be able to actually execute and come on out on top. I mean, eyes on what this Aatrox is going to be able to do to try to kind of peel some focus away from these double carries for the red side. But I really like what Blue has put together for themselves here. I think
Yeah.
the consistent execution of this Pantheon or this Renekton on the targeted stun comboing into the Talia combo it's just such a good, reliable way to pick off one of these major carries. And like you said, TDS, you have so many good targets here. It's really hard to go wrong.
Yeah, it's difficult to really not want to go for any of them in that position. And then even in the laning phase, right? Like we've seen multiple times instances where if the bot lane doesn't necessarily go your way and you cannot get like an early pick there, then you can just move the Blitzcrank out. You can even just make the what is it called, the swap, the W swap, where you send the Jinx top lane, you phase it against the Aatrox in a matchup that may be a little bit risky, but you can still farm it out really comfortably in the 1v1. You send your top laner into the bot side with the Blitzcrank, and you try and have the 2v2 comfortably there, and then open up the space for the Blitzcrank to move around the map. And then you create a scenario where you can have a 3v1 in the mid lane with Pantheon, Talia, Blitzcrank against the Victor, and he is more than likely dead. Because even with Flash, it's difficult to escape that situation. So there's multiple ways here that I can see the Blitzcrank moving around and finding a lot of value against some of these carries.
Yeah, you really can. So, eyes on the Blitzcrank too to be able to find some more of these additional picks. So, when you're team two, the idea is that you have enough breadth of threats and you should have significant range as well. The Zyra are going to be able to harass from a while away. The plants also can kind of disrupt your Blitzcrank game plan quite a bit. So definitely going to be looking to make sure that you aren't getting those sorts of picks, or though if you are getting dove onto by the Pantheon or Renekton, maybe they get onto one of your carries before Alistair is able to punt them out, but at least the other one can be dealt with the Alistair, and then they're going to be out of tools, and you're going to be able to hyper carry your way through with somebody. Smolder has a little bit of self peel there as well, so Alistair going to be camping on top of Levitate all day long, trying to make sure you're going to be able to find success there. But I mean, the mid game for this Team 8 comp looking very, very good. You got to believe that they're going to be able to take control in and around the Dragons. And the other thing about these one-shot combos with the Talia is that they get Jinx excited. So
Yeah,
it's very well crafted in their ability to try to play out a front-to-back team fight with the engage being on the Team A side. And Team B so reliant on this scaling, it feels like it's going to be tough for them to not just surrender a lot of these early objectives.
yeah, it's kind of difficult to really look at how they fight the early fights really comfortably because your main engage is going to be the Alistair, right? It's not going to be the Syra trying to flash in and eat somebody or the Aatrox trying to dive in. It's going to be essentially the Alistair. It's going to take a little bit of time before he becomes really tanky or he gets level 6. First dragon, more than likely, he's not going to have level 6 unless like they take way too long to fight it. And at that point, you can really start up a snowball that it's difficult to try and counter. Only thing that I can kind of see from Team A that will be difficult to not have some issues in case you fall behind is the engage potential because you're pretty much depending on either hook connecting or Pantheon going in with his ultimate to stun somebody and then set up for the Talia. But those two things can be risky depending on how far ahead you are in the game or how far behind you are. So this is the kind of thing that you need to be wary of if you're in Team A. But as far as pick potential, setup for objectives, and even just trying to snowball, their composition has a lot of tools to make it work out, and the side lane pressure as well is going to be really big. You have the Renekton that can fight essentially anyone on the side lane, and then you have Talia ultimate, Pantheon ultimate, and a Blitzcrank that can come in whatever he wants and just mess up a lot of the side lane effect that Team B may have with the Aatrox.
Yeah, really, really important for the Aatrox, I think, to be able to make a difference in these kinds of fights, right? When
Yeah.
you're going to have this very squishy backline that has the potential to take over the team fights, you need Aatrox and Alistair to be able to buy you the space. And I mean, it's a tough task for these two champions. If Denethor is able to find himself that early advantage and can be, the shy-esque Aatrox who's up in the front
Yep.
line drawing attention to himself and kind of making himself a fourth threat on this triple threat composition, maybe that can buy you the space that you need, especially because he's less liable to be bursted out the way that the others are.
Yeah, he's probably going to take longer. The silence, though, from the Blitzcrank Ultimate, always great to have as well, just because you can take away a little bit of the potential consistent healing that the Aatrox will have. But then, obviously, the Aatrox probably the worst champion to pull away with the Alistair. The thing is that you have three options that you can try and hook here. And one thing that, even if the last game didn't go as planned, Bounty connected really good hooks in the whole duration of the game. And he was a hook machine for for a huge part of that game. So if he can do anything close to similar to what he did on the Nautilus with the Blitzcrank, that's going to be really bad for the side of Team B. Because if he gets a Syra, a Smolder, or a Victor consistently like he did in the previous game, they're not only going to die, but that just can completely mess up your team composition really effectively. And then it also makes team fighting for the rest of the team really good. It just goes to show how effective Bounty was on the Nautilus and how close he was to just being able to win the game in a couple of situations with his hooks.
Yeah, really, really good stuff from Bounty so far today. And now
Yep.
on a hook champion once again, this time the El Clasico in the form of the Blitzcrank. Will he be able to keep up that hit rate and turn the game for his team? Kind of fell off towards the back end of that last game, started not being able to burst out the targets as quickly, started not being able to find isolated targets as frequently, and it did feel like Bounty lost his ability to influence the game too much at that stage. But now we are getting into the final game here. Another shot for him to be a difference maker. And I's going to be on Levitate here to see if he can scale up and be the big carry that he has been all split long for whole milk and that he was last game on the Kaisa.
Yep, potentially going to have a lot to do in this particular game. Like his back needs to be really heavy to be able to carry out a lot of the situations here in this game. The Smolder can do it, thankfully. Like this is one of those champions that if you get really far ahead or if you get post 35 minutes, you're going to be able to carry the game out. We almost saw it from Levitate as well in the ACA finals. If I'm not wrong, he was playing the Smolder. Oh no.
Well, left on alone here. Bounty going to be able to potentially take him
Oh
on. There's going to
no.
be a hook connecting. Levitate going to be forced to blow the cleanse to get away
Wait,
from
this
that
is a 3
ignite.
one.
But now here it comes more trying to respond. Array trying to get the kill finished off.
Flash in.
Knock up found by Rovex. Damage from the Zyra of Tahe. Potentially going to be able to take him down. One
Oh,
more auto.
Ray.
Not quite enough. Laser doesn't connect.
Oh.
Shochi flashes in. And it's Tahe picking up the first blood. So many summoners down from Team B. But they will walk away with the gold.
No way that worked out for Team B. That should have been Ray dying or Levitate dying immediately there, but really nicely played, and thankfully also the position of the rest of the members. And I think a little bit of this also comes from where Aeon Crystal was actually what Aeon Crystal was actually doing, because I'm not sure if we spotted that early on or not, but he was clearing out one ward here in the top side. So that kind of already gives you away that he's going to be on the top side. He's going to take way too long to arrive to the jungle before he can come in. If the Syra was in that position, which unluckily for Team A was, she was going to get the kill at that point, and she did that really effectively. I was actually thinking maybe a Ray flashes in to just trade himself with Levitate, doesn't commit to that, ends up dying, and it's a great start for Team A, for Team B in this position with the Syra getting ahead.
A nice trade here from Crimson on towards Denethor. But yeah, that early gold onto Tahe gonna feel very, very
Oh.
good and able to farm up at a safe distance. But here comes Eon looking for this early dive onto Denethor, and a kill earned for him as a result.
Yeah, that is going to be a pretty comfortable top lane for the Renekton there as, oh, Shochi, wait, Shochi
Oh,
needs to
shuffled
be
back by
careful.
Samikin, but the damage is not there. And Tahe will be able to force him out, escorting his Victor to safety.
Yeah, the thing here also we need to remember as well with what happened in the bot lane is that Shochi used flash, he didn't get anything. So he actually will be suffering. There's no flash
Oh,
here for the Syra.
seismic shove back up though? No, there it
Oh
goes. Gets
yeah,
it right
yeah.
in there. There's the knockup found by Bounty.
One
One
more.
more auto would
No
do it
way.
for Array,
No.
and he will be able to find it. Gets excited and returns fire onto Shochi as well. A 2-1 start. Team A get 2 kills off of all the missing flashes from earlier, but
Wait, what?
Denethor gets a clap back onto Crimson, finds a counter solo kill. Array walking
Oh,
through,
Ray has
does
no
not see
flash.
Rovex with the zap, and is going to get isolated, punted back, and fired away onto by Levitate,
Wait,
pulled
Levitate.
away by Bounty to create the space for Array to stay alive, but this is chaos, TDS.
It is chaos, and I'm pretty sure what happened top lane is that Crimson did not back away after getting the kill because he did not teleport until now. So that means that he was really low by the time that Denethor was able to come back there. He gets the kill, so 1-for-1 in that top lane play, not the worst. Now in the mid lane, you get the kill onto Tahe. Oh, they are going again.
As they do come on in, Crimson going to be able to find that knock up, or that stun rather, and Eon is there to close out the kill. 2-0 start for the Pantheon, and feat of killing earned for Team A.
I gotta be honest, I think Denethor probably will have his worst game experience so far because that is going to be point and click jungler into point and click top laner consistently for as much as he can. Like that's not going to be fun at all. And with no flash, it's going to be even harder to be able to escape some of those ganks. Same thing for Shochi here. He doesn't have flash yet, you have an angle here for Aeon to just flash in, stun him, and then follow up with Italia. Although Samikin did use the unworked round there to try and push a little bit of the wave. But Shoshi needs to be careful about how he tries to position here, because he just may get pulled back.
Well, Shoshi just trying to farm his way up on this Victor. Been bullied quite a bit, but has not yet gone down over the course of this early game. Now going to be laning up against Samikin's Talia,
Again,
just continuing to keep him shoved in, and they're going to arrive up to Denethor once again. Crimson is down a level here, but this 1 versus 2, I mean, it's been tough for Denethor all game long, and he's not getting any support from Tahe anytime soon. A third kill on the Denethor from Eon.
yeah, that's kind of. Oh wait, really nice combo.
Yes, there's going to be
That was
another
good.
quick little combo coming through from Rovex to be able to push on towards Bounty. Array doing his best to return fire. Levitate
Oh
going to get
wait,
knocked up here. Gets the Ignite and the Cleanse. So it will be a Levitate forced to cleanse away. Bounty using both of his summoner spells to accomplish this. And here comes Tahe to try to get some punishment. Did show himself with that plant. And Eon going to be in the wings. So no dive in the cards for Team B.
yeah, it doesn't look like they are going to try and go aggressive in this dive attempt or at a dive attempt here. I think that's the smart approach because once again, Tai is still isn't even level 6. They don't have a lot of control down there in the bot side, even with the fact that they took a lot of health bar off of the Blitzcrank, and they're not there with a great trade in most of the situations as well. And even though he was killed a couple of times, he has been able to take good trades against Crimson. Only bad thing for Crimson, although he hits level 6 now.
Yeah, going to be chasing him down, looking for a
Just
solo
enough.
Bolo. And hey, when your jungler kills your lane opponent 3 times in a row,
Yeah.
eventually the power rests with you. Crimson gets a solo kill against Denethor, who goes down to 1 and 4, 6 minutes and 30 seconds in. Samikin getting attacked in the mid lane, but no CC connecting means he will be able to get out of here.
Yeah, now we're seeing Tahi be a little bit more active, probably off of the fact that Aeon was really, really active in the previous plays. I'm pretty sure Samikin cannot kill here. The only bad thing for Tahi with him being this proactive is that he's still behind Aeon, actually. Like, in terms of CS, he's really far behind. And the Siren needs to reach level 6 really quickly. The ultimate does make a difference when trying to go for some of the traits. So, does need to try and bring up that up as much as possible. Oh,
Oh, Samikin nearly one shot by Shochi, but Samikin will be able to flash away,
wait,
keep
the
himself
ulti.
alive, and here comes a potential dive from Eon Crystal. Shochi trying to create the space, flash forward from Eon, looking for the execution. Bounty
Shochi!
is here to back him up, and Shochi will fall on down. It's a rampage for Eon.
Yeah, this Pantheon first pick working marvels, taking full advantage out of the top lane and now going a little bit harder onto the mid lane, trying to make it so that this game can be easier on the side of Team A as they are trying to push this wave. They actually are not going to be able to. No, they are going to push it. There's no problem there. But the important part is that Denethor now in a spot where he's going to be really, really sad about what is happening with his lane. Then the Jinx pretty comfortably farmed down there in the bot side because the Smolder is not going to force her out of the lane or do anything like that. And in the mid lane, you have a champion that can set up with your jungler so effectively as well. As long as these things can keep on happening for Team A, it's going to be difficult for Team B to find an angle to turn it around.
And I mean, look at how advantaged they are in this top side. They don't even need to send Bounty up to
Yeah.
pressure on towards these grubs because of the lane advantages that they have in the solo lane. Samikin continuing to keep Shochi pushed in. Shochi has no ultimate. Shochi has no flash. He can't show up. Denethor is so far behind, he can't even dream of getting involved in these plays. So it's just going to be a soloing of the grubs to get all 3 of them from Eon Crystal. This would be unthinkable in a Worlds game.
Yeah, at all. Like it feels like there's not a lot of angles there to really look into as Team B, and I like that they are deciding to go for the opposite side of the map. Although this does look like another, yeah, it is a dive setup here, and Denethor knows this 100%. Even Samikin is coming up here, but ultimate value is going to be quite big there by Denethor.
This might be
Ooh,
too many resources contributed. I mean, they do get the kill, but
don't even need.
gives a
Oh,
lot of relief over to Shochi. Nice hook from Bounty, going to stop them from being able to get the reset here. And I mean, Denethor is just falling further behind all the time, of course, and it is more plate gold over to Crimson. But I mean, 3 members up there letting Shochi wail away on your turret for a bit. I don't know. I guess he doesn't get any plates. Doesn't make too big of a difference. But that was probably one more member than you needed to kill Denethor, not gonna lie.
Yeah, it was pretty clear there that just two members were enough to just dive him. Even diving him is quite easy at that point, at this point of the game. And now another back for Crimson, even though Denethor finally able to get a little bit more damage on his side. Like the difference between him and Crimson at this point is so big. And now Aeon will have ultimate as well really soon. They can try and set up a dive onto the Smolder if they want to, with Aeon having ultimate really soon, or look into the mid lane. Like you were mentioning before, Shochi has no flash. Oh, okay.
Very close. Levitate. Flash down. Bounty not going to let up here. Does look like it is about 60 stacks for Levitate. So not
Not bad.
the best pace in the world. Not too bad. Oh, and
Yep,
they are
there it
going to
is.
get another combo here on Shochi. We talked about how easy this
Yeah.
is. And when Pantheon is this fed, it is even easier. A quick execution onto Shochi, and I mean, there is nothing to just stop them from doing that all the time, every time Shochi is flashed down. Now here is Samikin to help force out Tahe from his jungle,
Oh,
and the 2
wait.
versus 2 is going poorly for them as well. It's just all coming up Team A. Crimson looking for another solo kill. Can't quite find it there.
He could go in, flash, kill, then get out, but he's not even going to attempt at risking it that much. Like the fact that he's just pushing away Denethor at this point with no teleport to be able to come back into the lane means that he's just going to keep on missing minions. Like yes, Tahe will be able to get this wave, but the problem is that Denethor is just suffering and suffering so much. And you have to give credit to how teammates set everything up, because with their game plan, it was pretty straightforward how they were going to look for these plays, and they've been executing on them pretty effortlessly, pretty frequently. And that's the beauty out of this sort of compositions, just how effective you can be so many times without losing anything.
Yeah, I mean, this is the game where they put up all this pressure towards Denethor, and he does not manage to turn around the
Yep.
dive play or anything like that. That has gone down in the previous couple of games, and now they have put him in a deep trough. And it's, whoa, Levitate forced the
Okay.
heal, or that's actually a heal out of Rovex.
Yep.
But Levitate is forced to step back to avoid getting hooked.
It's just a scary thing about that hook champion there, being able to thread you so many times in that position. And they're nice chains, and now he's even looking to try and run away, but there's a lot of ways for this Pantheon to be able to stop it. Now, Denethor finally not going to be killed in this position, probably the most important part. But it's going to be Crimson getting all the remaining plates, even more gold in their favor. And if Denethor gets too close, he may get collapsed on, although it looks like Eon just wants to run away.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting to the point where, like, so many minions have been denied here. It's just
Yeah.
creating a gold lead that is so significant, and it's preventing Denethor from even being a real champion in a lot of these plays. And we talked about how, he's kind of the front line for this team, right? It's him and Rovex obviously on a support's income. It is difficult living for Denethor here, and they're going to continue to just get strangled out of these objectives. Of course, the first dragon given over to Team B, a little bit of a relief. It means that they're not going to be able to snowball towards this soul incredibly quickly, and Levitate will eventually get the dragon training stacks up, but I just don't know if that's enough on its own. And
No, they want to
hey,
kill
Shochi,
Shochi.
you are going to have to flash at a minimum and are very likely to be killed
Oh,
anyway.
wait, trade?
Bounty going to get stunned up underneath the turret. It will be a trade back. Shochi going to be able to get that kill, but now they think that
Wait,
they've got an angle
no.
onto Rovex. He punts Array back underneath the turret, but Array is not tanking aggro.
Wait, Denethor,
Crimson
no.
in a 1 versus 2, looking to finish
Oh,
off
wait.
Denethor, flashes forward, will take him out, and now needs to just try to stay alive up against Tahe. Tahe going to get jumped onto, has to flash backwards, will be able to make the shutdown happen. And that is kill gold and shutdown gold to Tahe.
Hey, that is a huge shutdown at the very least going to Tahe. It's not Eon shutdown levels, but it's good gold that you are able to get at that point, able to also put a little bit of a stop to what's happening topside. And Shoji did get a counter kill on the bot side. The only problem is that in the process, you do get Array getting a kill, you get him also getting a turret, and also just magnifying the amount of gold that he's getting as they are looking so aggressively here for Shoji. But Sammy can maybe get collapse on.
Yeah, Samikin going to get stunned on up here, going to try to push away Rovex,
That
but he is done for. That's a second kill over to
wait, down.
Shochi. He's going to get
Oh
his
wait,
upgrades here very soon. Bounty not going to be able to connect that hook. Eon Crystal did blow the ultimate to show up here, but it's a 4 versus 3. And even with how ahead he is, I don't think that they want that. They don't have the combo with Samikin, so they're not going to be able to get Array excited, and going to have their rush down of this game slowed down a little bit. It's a hook from Bounty, but he's at risk of going on down. They're going to try to pump the damage that they can in on towards Rovex. They will get it. Array is excited. He thinks he can solo out Levitate. Levitate going to be forced to flash back, and they will be able to push out Tahe as well. And they build themselves a play there thanks to Bounty out of basically nothing.
Yeah, the hook thread always making it so that you have to be very careful about what you're looking for. And even if it doesn't connect, if you're in a weird spot, you're going to be forced really badly in that position. As even if they did kill Samikin, they get a shutdown, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are getting a lot of gold back in the process. The one that has the most gold is Aeon, and as long as he's alive, that's not going to be a lot of issues to try and just keep on snowballing as much as possible. The Renekton also trying to set himself up as Shochi's still up here in the top side. It is only Samikin for now, but Eon is coming.
Yeah, they are just standing here. He will see Rovex en route, so gonna just be a quick trade on towards Rovex, getting him for a fair chunk of his health bar, keeping Samikin safe the whole way through. I gotta believe that Ian Crystal must be sitting on a boatload of gold right now, by the way. He's 8-0, but still only on
He has
one
back,
item.
yeah.
They will look for
Ooh.
this chase onto Shochi. They do not find him this time around.
Yeah, he'll really coming in nicely there just to give the space for Shochi to be able to run away there. And the side of Team B, gotta give them credit for how they put a stop to the side lane plays from Team A, because there hasn't been a lot of punishment or a lot of punishment after the initial ones, and then also they haven't been able to punish Shochi's lack of flash just yet. That is going to come in handy whenever he goes for the future, because as soon as the flash is up, Shochi can play the game once again. For now, it is going to be a little bit more difficult though.
And as Denethor finally finding some time to farm here, but Crimson going to be able to get back over to him, and that will be a second outer turret falling in the favor of Team A. Continuing to build up on their lead. They want to be able to get that mid one down here before too long as well. It will be Rift Herald as the next objective. That's the thing
Oh,
about foregoing
Samikin.
dragons. Ooh, wait a second. Samikin, a little bit caught on out here. Doesn't connect the seismic shove.
Oh,
Doesn't have flash either. And I think Shochi's about to get himself back up to parity. Instead, they give it to Levitate. Mom swings by to steal the kill away. And down goes Samikin.
Hey, that's a good setup there. They're able to find. They're more than likely losing this turret though. As
Ooh, Eon
wait,
Crystal getting
Eon
in there. Going to get
is
knocked
going
up
to
by the
dip.
pre-placed
He's dead.
Stranglethorns, though. Has to back on off. Tower falls, but the TP completed
Oh,
for
that's a
Denethor.
big
Big
blunder.
shutdown gold into Denethor. Crimson arrives as well, but he's in a 1 versus 4. Going to have to try to kite his way back out here. They do go in for the hook, but it only connects onto Rovex. They commit the ultimate as well, trying to melt him down, trying to get this Jinx excited, but Crimson is already down. Array going to try to reset across the rest of this fight. Denethor regaining a lot of HP. One more rocket would do it. It's a double kill to Array. Stepping up against the squishies, looking to use this excitement to keep the kills coming. It's another hook from Bounty to make it a triple kill to Array. The sneeze takes him incredibly low, though, and Levitate will be able to push him back. Good gold income into Array, but Team B fighting their way back into this, getting some of that shutdown gold onto crucial targets.
Yeah, the important thing, Eon dying there way too much of an overextension in that position. I understand the desire to go in for the play, but I feel like taking down the turret should have been the first thing before going in so deep. And the shutdown going into Denethor's pocket, oh, Samikin, you're dead.
Ooh, Samikin isolated by Shochi again, caught on top of the gravity field, and Shochi on a killing spree has Samikin's number this game on the Talia.
Yeah.
And Shochi is giving some hope back over to Team B, just like he did on that Aurora flank last game, and might be able to pull them back into it.
Yeah, it could be the difference maker in some of the situations. If the Victor gets a little bit too strong, that's still something to really be worried about whenever you force some of the fights. Now, one of the things that I still think that it's going to cost them is the fact that Shochi, for us, difficult it's going to be to win some of this fight. He has a lot of damage value and a lot of power, but he's still going to be really squishy, especially with this build. He's not going to have a lot of the survivability that you have with other builds. Oh, Denethor, oh, the hook goes wide.
Oh, Denethor a little cut down. Crimson going to be able to step up into him, looking to be able to finish off this Aatrox, but Crimson has to step back away. Shochi goes on a rampage as down goes Bounty, or down goes Shochi. Bounty up in front of him. Going to be another kill going over to that Victor. Really well done by him, and Shochi continues to snowball here, has great DPS on towards these beefy targets with the double DPS build.
Yeah, and the 2-7 Denethor Aatrox is no longer feeling like a 2-7 Nectrox. Oh, she's dead. Yeah, bye-bye.
Yeah. Goodbye, Tahe. Another kill into Array's pocket, and it feels like a tale on two fronts here, right? Because for the longest time, it was Eon Crystal and Crimson getting stupid fed. That's no longer really the case, and
Oh,
now it's
bounce
just
instead
Shochi
here.
and Array getting turbo fed on opposite sides. In goes Eon Crystal, on towards Shochi again, isolated, held still, nearly going to get taken down, has to try to create the space. Levitate coming in with the blast cone, but Array returning damage over the wall, keeps the front line low, and keeps the threat substantial.
Yeah, good flash anyway there to be able to escape at the end there. I think the fact that the kills are going to come off of how they can kill Shochi is going to be really important. But then the flash there by Ion going to be crucial in some of those future fights. The main thing here is that yes, Shochi is far ahead, but the point is still stands. One hook is enough to kill you. Because if you connect the hook, the members are going to be strong enough to kill you really quickly. He's not going to be as survivable because his build path is not necessarily the tankiest the Victor could have gone. This is going to be a good amount of damage, but he's not going to survive for really, really long. And then also the rest of the members, for as much as they can try and do to provide protection for the picture, if any of them get hooked by bot, or if it's not the Alistar in the process, then you're going to die.
That is the threat. Building up some magic resist, by the way, is Eon Crystal, trying to make sure that he'll be able to survive the burst damage coming out of the double mages of Tahe and Shochi. And again, it is Samakin forced out in the side lane, getting himself that Rylai's Crystal Scepter to create some slows, create some additional utility for the rest of the crew. Needs to make sure he's not the first one dropping down in these fights, and that they are the ones making the engages happen to be able to get this combo down onto a squishy. Because it's too much work for Array to have to deal with all three.
It's now going to be a setup of what they can try and look for here, as the dragon is started, so this is going probably to be a dragon for the side of Team A, although they are coming here to collapse on them.
Yeah, now the
Tahi's
dragon
not here,
already
though.
falling very low. Chaos Storm comes on through. Eon Crystal going to be able to smite down the dragon, but they are nowhere near a soul right now. Good hook onto Levitate, opens up for some damage onto Array, but
Wait.
Rovex creating the space, connects the stun off of the Rampage. Denethor popping off on the opposite side, alongside
Nice
Shochi. Advance forward onto Array. 3 members down, and Team B take the gold lead back.
Yeah, and that's exactly the way of how not to fight against the composition from the side of Team A. Because one of the main things, once again, it's being able to collapse onto Shochi or use the hook aggressively. But when every member is disjointed, it's only 2 members on the Dragon Pit and they are killing the dragon in the process. They are not collapsing onto the other members. The chaos that is created at that point where you can collapse on other members and kill them really quickly is beneficial for Team B, because their composition, for as much as they do have team fighting value, the more separated they are, the better it is going against the Blitzcrank here, because that means that they are not going to be going against multiple members that are ahead. You can see the Pantheon and the Renekton both in the side of the pit, where the Blitzcrank is completely far away from them, and his hook is not going to be as meaningful at that point. Now, in future fights, maybe that changes with more damage on the Jinx, but at this point, that is going to be really important. And then, if they are not together, the Renekton and the Pantheon value just fall down quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, the fights are just messy and disjointed. Eon Crystal gets himself separated away alongside Crimson, trying to fight for that dragon, while Alistar is successfully spacing away Array. They just can't put the pieces together to be able to find a fight. They get picked apart on both ends. And Team A are now left without the gold lead that they had built up. And not only are they without the lead, but so much allocated on towards Shochi for Team B, so much more useful than all the gold that's been allocated towards Eon Crystal.
They're trying to kill Denethor here, and ooh, the flash really nicely positioned there. Now Tahi going to arrive really nicely in that position, but with no value here with the Herald being able to be used. Actually, the Herald even pushing mid lane. Oh, they find
big
Shochi.
hook from
They find
Bounty.
Shochi.
Gets an isolated Shochi. This is going to be a big shutdown goal, but he
Wait.
misses the Comet Spear. Next cast,
No
dodged
way.
away as well. Shochi gets out, and even the easiest of picks just slipped through the fingers of Team A.
Yep, the lack of damage at this point going to buy them back. I think also a little bit of the lack of desire to go and kill Shochi, because they could have flashed to try and get the kill. They decide against it. I think even if Shochi doesn't die here, which would have made the most sense here, they still get control over this Anakin. Shochi still does have teleport though, so he can try and come back here. But the control now does go back a little bit more into Team A's pocket. They have ultimates in most of their players. They have Flash, crucially, on Bounty, on Eon, and on Crimson, which are the ones that are going to be forcing some of the engage. and they have ways to try and get into the back lane. The flash from Shochi's down, flash from Taehe's down. The only flash available that is crucial is Levitates.
Clearing out vision around the Otacon, knowing that it could be the site of an important battle soon to come. Baron about to spawn here as well. This top side going to be where all the action is taking place. And
We are looking
Shochi,
for
I mean,
Shochi
avoiding
here.
that death, by the way, with all these stacks. They are going to go on to him now. They want to try to take these Magi stacks off of the Fed Victor, get themselves a little bit of its Facto gold lead back. Flashing in his Crimson, gets the stun, followed up with by Eon. Shut down gold over to Crimson, down goes Shochi, and off go 10 pages of the Magi's Soul Stealer. Baron spawns at the same instant, but the rest of Team B had sent down reinforcements as well. There's not going to be any opportunity for a cross map. Samikin trying to get the cutoff there on towards Tahe, will not find it. But that's a win for Team A if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, and Shochi is down for 30 seconds now. The thing is that he does have teleport, and every member was bot side. Atakan spawning top side does mean that they are not going to be able to secure that objective just yet. They did commit quite a bit to get it, but it's not like they used an important, crucial flash once again. Crimson did flash, but Aeons is still available. Bounties is still available. Ultimate will come back up for Eon as well for the future fight. So they still have the tools to be able to collapse onto Shochi to try and kill this Victor that is really, really strong. And then, like you were mentioning, losing out on so much Magi value does mean that you're going to probably not be doing as much damage as you did before. Still going to be strong, but not as much damage though.
Loses the movement speed here as well. You need 10
Yep.
pages for the bonus movement speeds. The item ceases to be gold efficient. This feels like it's such small potatoes compared to the massive gold lead that Team A had and lost. That will be a nice little hook connecting on it towards Rovex, but it is
Salty.
Rovex. He
He did get
pops
salty.
pops the Unbreakable Will. That will be down though for what could be a potential Baron standoff. Pretty big, facing down a team that is very, very lacking in the frontline department.
Yeah, that pretty much means that if he gets hooked, he's dead as well. Like the main difference between surviving and not as an Alistar at this point in the game is your ultimate. If the ultimate is down, like you're actually just as easily killable as the other members. And they are all collapsing here, maybe onto Crimson, trying to move around on the side. They don't know that he's over here. The dragon did fall down. Oh, Crimson.
Gets found. We'll have to pop the Dominus to try to stay alive, but the path out of here is very limited. Big heal back
Yep.
up. Will end up falling down. Array coming up to try to rejoin the
Oh,
fight.
wait,
The
the
flash into the
pullback?
bounty. He has Tahe. Knock up is huge. Stops
Oh,
Eon
good
Crystal
connected.
Stun from connecting, but Array going to be able to get the kill anyway. Off of the Super
Levitating is
Mega
not
Death
here.
Rocket, and he arrives now, excited and ready to brawl. Samikin into the back line. Finds his way onto Rovex, looking to execute him on the opposite side. Another hook onto Denethor. Will get Array excited. Stepping up onto Rovex, making it a double kill. And Shochi is left to fend for himself. He's got to back away into the Tri-Brush Levitate over on the other flank. 3 members down for Team B, and that's how you want these fights to go if you are Team A. Get the Jinx excited, let her run amok in the fight, and win from that point.
Yeah, a couple of more good hooks coming in there by Bounty. Importantly as well, Levitate was not part of that fight at all. It was a 4-man gang squad going topside, but it was without Levitate. So even though they killed Crimson really early on, as soon as the rest of the members arrived, it was technically a 4v4 anyway, because Levitate was not available at that point. And then they also took down the dragon down there in the bot side, and they were immediately able to respond into the topside fight. Of course, we have a pause right now, but the game is still really close. It could really go either way just because of how the gold is getting shared on both sides. But Levitate is going to be important in some of these fights. Same for Array, that he's about to complete a 4th item as well.
Yeah, and I mean, you kind of got a feel for Array this game. I mean, he was so well set up for this to be a team comp that really at its core is kind of about Array coming into these later game fights, right? It's a very easy single target burst out combo that is meant to get the Jinx excited and create a scenario where Array can utilize those additional steroid stats to be able to carry out the rest of the fight and to be able to dominate a team composition that does not really have a front line that can stand up to him. And we saw multiple fights in a row there where they just didn't get the combo right? They were disjointed. They had different members doing different things. They had Samikin picked off before the fight, or they just had him cut off entirely. Now they are starting to, get back with the groove of things, get back into the proper execution. Hopefully that last little pause gave them time to recollect themselves, know what they have to do to win. They showed it in that last fight. And if you're You're hoping for a win from Team A here, which, I mean, certainly don't love to see a gold lead like that thrown away. They're going to need to execute on that game plan, knowing that they can no longer snowball from the position they were in.
Yeah, ideally not the case for them. That being said, it is now a Ray on 4 items. And Bounty is also ambition. He needs to be careful here.
Yeah, gotta watch out. Going to get
Oh,
this
wait,
hook on
again,
towards Tahe anyway. How do you sit on Vision the entire time and still find the pick?
Wait,
Although
Array,
not going to be able
needs
to
to be
finish him
careful.
off here. Array going to get forced back away. Tahe incredibly low, but does have Rovex running interference for him. They won't be able to get onto him. Instead, it's going to be Rovex who ends up dying.
Wait, the
Bounty
hook.
throws out
Oh,
the
the
hook,
plant
blocked
there.
away by a plant. Denethor in there, trying to get the
Shochi's
response,
dead.
but they do manage to blow up Shochi. Massive shuffle back from Samakin. Gets his lane counterpart down and gets Array excited once again. Low health bars mean they are going to back away for the time being. Somehow Tahe stayed alive throughout the whole play, but the resulting fight, it's bad for Team B.
Wait, now I'm curious. Was Bounty on the part of the Vision that he doesn't get checked by the ward? Like he could have been on the
He may have
spot that
been.
he doesn't get because they didn't know, or it looked like they didn't know that Bounty was there.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there. He was maybe far enough in towards his side of the long brush that the
Yeah.
ward didn't catch him. Hard to say.
Yeah,
But does
it's
mean
unlucky in that situation for Tahi then because he was walking in pretty much blindly at that point. But the fight there, even though it was looking like Array was going to be able to just completely destroy everyone, he did get hit quite a bit by Levitate, and Levitate did a lot of
Otacon's
damage.
dying, man. This
Wait,
Otacon is down
wait.
below half. That was such an early smite, but it goes over the way of Array either way, and now
I
an
died.
excited
Oh,
Array
no,
going to
Jinx.
show you just what this Jinx can
Shochi's
do.
dead as well.
Shochi is down. Array is popping off. And Levitate just trying to pick up some pieces on the
Bounty.
other side. Will be able to get one execute on towards Bounty. Samakin looking. Does not connect the seismic shove. But that is a 3-for-1 fight. Levitate with no options, and this will be Baron in addition to the Otacon going the way of Team A. They have reestablished their dominance in this game, and they should be well set up to be able to rock up to these future fights. That Otacon buff in particular going to be huge for a resetting Jinx.
Yeah, this is going to be enough damage now for the Jinx to be able to keep on spiking one more item in her pocket soon enough. There's also going to be the dragon spawning in 1 minute. It's going to be triple Infernal Drake plus Atakan buff Jinx. Like this should be enough damage to be able to kill anyone in the map. And Levitate is doing a really good job at finding damage at this point of the game. The problem once again is that in this previous fight, Levitate was not there. He was back in base getting another item because he was trying to be able to contest comfortably the Atakan. But then Team A smartly started the Atakan really quickly. They were able to move in everyone there, and the Atakan died close to immediately. Like he barely took any time to be able to die. As Crimson needs to be careful.
Fight potentially breaking out here. They will be able to get out Denethor to safety, or Crimson rather.
No.
The other 4 members here on the flank. Does look like it is Rovex finding the beginning here. Bounty throws out
Jinx
the
is
hook, does not
excited
connect.
already.
Array still thinks he's got an angle onto Rovex here. He'll get excited on any member he can find, but now they need to peel on back as Eon is chunked to about half. Crimson coming in now on the flank. Flash forward from Bounty, gets on top of Tahe, and they will be able to finish him off. Array now excited. They've lost Bounty for this trade, but they the fight angle they were looking for. Crimson is in on top of the carries. Array flashes forward, and Bounty flashing in for the power fist, sets up for an ace just for him. The rest of the team cleans up house, and this is going to be game number 3, going the way of Team A. Gets dicey in the middle, but they find their way back to an advantage and back to a 2-1 win on tonight's block of 3.
Yeah, and Bounty dying there as a hero, but he died like he needed to there, setting everything up for the team. They were really far ahead at one point in the game. Full props to Team B for how they brought it back. They were really close at finding great angles for Shochi and Levitate to be able to fight it back. I think Levitate was doing great damage in most of those fights. But the real problem was that the same for Array. Array was scaling greatly in that game. And once the game kind of balanced itself out once again, the Blitzcrank value started to rise up, the point and click CC value started to rise up, and Shochi couldn't find the same angles that he was getting at that point. So really good performance by Team A. I think Team B did a really good job at coming back, but then the execution of the composition was much better from Team A.
Yeah, I mean, there's a honor for mental stability over to Shochi, though, for these back 2 games. 2 games in a row where the team is at a massive deficit, and he is making independent plays to be able to pull them back into it. It was that big TP on the
Yep.
Aurora in game number 2, and it was multiple picks onto Samikin in this game number 3. Still a good fight back from Team B, but once Team A found their groove on these team fights, they had enough gold already put into Array that he was going to be able to be the pop-off force to be able to win out, and Levitate never quite able to find his footing to be able to be that late game carry that the rest of the team needed,
Yeah.
especially with Rovex constantly being forced to blow ultimate and Denethor still so far behind, never quite able to get into it, ends that game on a pretty low budget, not getting past 11.5K there.
Yeah, kind of difficult at that point, but in general, overall, like you're saying, I think a lot of highs for a lot of players tonight. I think they found really good games to really show themselves up. And then this particular last one, for how it started, we need to remember Denethor was like a 1-5 or 1-6 at one point, and he was able to still turn around really gracefully. Like he found good angles to be part of the fight. It's just that after that horrible start, the fact that you were able to even fight back really gives you a lot of props in my mind to how Team B ended up playing it. And I think Tahi as well finding really good angles in team fights to pop up a lot of damage and a lot of control for them.
Indeed. And yeah, I think a lot to look at coming away from this game. Another excellent
Yes.
series from Eon Crystal. Moves up
Yeah.
to, was already 3-1, so moves up to 5-1. Was 3-0, moves up to 5-1 over the course of the combine. Crimson now 8-1 over the course of the combine, by the way. A really great showing from him here as well, in multiple laning phases up against Denethor. And all in all, really like what we got to see out of both junglers. I think you can see that there's some adaptation to comp to come through from Tahe, but still some nice showings throughout, and great play by both mid laners as well. I think Shochi and Samikin both really making names for themselves
Yeah.
in after having a couple splits already under their belts in NACL. Really, I think, growing individually over the course of this year and getting to show it in this combine.
Yeah, exactly. The fact that they are showing up this way, both in how they were playing towards the last part of the NACL once again, and then the way that they've been playing here, I think it's a good showing from them. And honestly, it's a good way to try and see really who is going to be the one to stand atop and go to the next part of the Zyto Combine. Because I feel like the competition for some of these spots is going to be extremely fierce. Like there's really, really good performers all around, and the difference is very, very small when looking at some of the way that some of the stats that they have been putting up and the way that they have been playing. It's going to be difficult for the ones that decide at the end.
Yeah, indeed it will. And so with that said, it's going to do it for tonight's block of games. There's going to be some more coming on up in the coming days. There's going to be games or not tomorrow. Sunday is an off day, right? But
Yep.
there are games on Monday. And then we will start to begin week number 2, where it's going to be Worlds drafts rather than a traditional, normal, Fearless setup.
Yeah. A
Oh,
lot of things going to
there's
be mixed up.
Tuesday as
Oh,
well. So technically this week runs through Tuesday. So it goes, we
yeah.
are off tomorrow. There will be some games at 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern on Monday, and then again at 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern on Tuesday. So more of the traditional Fearless first, and then getting into those Worlds drafts for week number 2. It's going to be exciting.
Which technically they are also fearless, but we need to remember it is Worlds BO1, so probably not that fearless.
Well, I think by any definition of fear, like the
Yeah.
drafts themselves were done under fearless conditions,
But they are not
but they are
fearless.
going to do the exact same draft back and
Yeah.
forth. Like the point, so you will see the same champions 2 games in a row. In fact, I can promise you, you will see the same champions 2 games in a row. In a way, it's opposite of fearless. It's the most afraid drafting you can find.
It's forward draft.
No, but I love it. That's exactly what I've been
Yeah,
hoping
that's a
for
good
out
way
of
to
some of
test
these.
everyone up. I think
It's the best way to do a scouting combine, right? You get some preset drafts, and you get to see how players look on both sides, so you can directly compare how different players play out the same sorts of situations. I'm very excited for it. I think it's going to be a great insight into how well these players are performing. 2 more days of regular drafts first, and then we will get to see that stage. Hoping to be back there next week to walk you through all of that. But for tonight, that's going to do it for the Cyto Combine. Thank you, everybody who's hung out with us throughout the week. Enjoy the off day on Sunday, and we'll see everybody back on Monday for more League of Legends action.